All right. All right. So we're
So,
gonna do a photograph, then I'll do the intro, and then we'll just
Oh,
get started.
I got the shirt as always.
Yeah, my shirt's in
oh
my
my God,
closet. I'm not getting. Oh my god.
I'm still wearing my Mets attire.
Oh my god, Billy, Jeremy. For some reason, when you showed that, I thought that was Saddam Hussein. No way, it's
I
true.
mean, it looks like so, but let me tell you, this is
It
Italian because
does.
both Keith Hernandez and Metallica were featured in
Oh,
Seinfeld.
That's
What is this, a
right.
Metallica
oh,
concert?
On today's episode of the Nostalgia Test podcast, we put the thrash era of Metallica to the ultimate test, the Nostalgia Test. Speak and speak and destroy.
Welcome to the Nostalgia Test podcast, the show where two longtime friends put their mainstream pop culture past to the ultimate test, the Nostalgia Test.
There we go. Welcome everyone to the Nostalgia Test podcast. I'm your host Dan Dissinger here in. I was thinking of this today, and I was like, I'm in LA County, but I live in West Hollywood, so I'm just gonna say LA. It doesn't matter. Here in LA podcast, and I'm here with two Nostalgia Test podcast Allstars who start what is gonna be a long marathon of episodes. We're gonna break them up. Obviously, we're not doing what we did with the Rocky episodes, which was destroyed Manny and I. And Manny's obviously not here today because Manny's not a heavy metal fan, and he's like, Dan, go ahead and do this shit. I'm gonna sit back and relax. Like so. Here with
He's waiting for
Billy
the wedding
Dalia,
dance songs.
what's up, boys?
who's been on, I mean, multiple episodes. Check him
Yeah,
out. One of my favorites, the Rocky Balboa episode, which is ridiculous. And right now the Mets are playing Philly, and it's apt for everyone to go listen to Billy's opinions on Philadelphia.
yeah, they're very
And
to say the
here
least.
with
Accurate, very
yeah,
accurate.
and here with Jeremy Madson, who was on the Mrs. Doubtfire episode, Killer episode, and on the Black Album episode, Metallica Black Album episode, which
Covering the
at this
spectrum.
point should be out. I mean, it should be out. So I'm editing it right now. And this is, here we are to do the eras test for Metallica. We talked about this right after almost we did the Black Album episode, and we've been thinking about doing this. And we broke it up pretty well. And here we are to talk about the thrash era. So I'm going to throw it over to you guys just to be like thoughts on one, the thrash era as a whole, and two, I guess the journey ahead. I want to get to that as well, just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because Metallica basically like there were all these bands that were kind of listening to the new wave of British heavy metal with the Iron Maidens and the Diamond Heads and all that. And you had all these bands at the time. You had Metallica and Slayer and, Testament was out there in the Bay Area. And like Metallica was the first one to kind of drop their album, like with Kill 'Em All, and that's like stake in the ground, like the first thrash album, right? And then everything kind of blew up from there where you had Slayer and Megadeth and Anthrax in New York, and like it kind of just got bigger and bigger and spitballed, and it started out like it's almost felt really raw, and I think that's what grabbed people, like, is how raw it felt compared to what was out there, compared to the Maidens or the Priests, which is
Mm-hmm.
was really even more mainstream, right? And started getting to that gritty feel. And I think what's interesting about Metallica is like they launched the thrash era, and then they almost like leap forward every album, like leaps and bounds, and redefined what like thrash is and could be, especially with these first four albums, because
Mm-hmm.
I think as we get through this we'll talk, I think there are similarities between a lot of them, but there's also like it's just whew, like through the stratosphere from where they started to where
Yeah,
they go.
Totally
absolutely.
agree.
Go ahead,
You
Jeremy.
know, we talked in the intro before a couple things that resonated. Metallica is kind of the gateway to this. The Black Album that we spoke about before is kind of the gateway to thrash albums, because it's like, why are we even talking about Metallica? Why are they the kings of thrash? And it's basically because of that. They threw down the gauntlet with Kill 'Em All, and then I think we all listened to all four of
Mm-hmm.
the Thrash Era albums, the '80s albums, basically in quick progression this week, and each one of them was like a leaps and bounds progression. They have a lot of similarities. Obviously, we talked about the format the pattern that they followed was the same, but the fact that it was only 6 years between, or 5 years between all three of them.
Yeah.
And
It's
the
nuts.
year between the first two, unheard of. That's like 25 years of progression for another band. I'm sure we'll get into it, but
Mhm.
parts
Yeah.
of it made me think about another favorite of ours, Dan, Pink Floyd, and the kind of progression that they were there.
I have in my notes something I want to talk about, because I said, like, to me, this might be the greatest 4-album run for a band ever. And I have a couple that I want to bring up that we can talk about, and Floyd is in there. So,
Yeah, and it's funny you bring up Floyd as well, Jeremy, because I was thinking too how the way the albums went, and in terms of Pink Floyd's progression, and then how, and we'll get to it when we get to Injustice, where it's just like comes out of, in a way, for me, you're listening to these albums, and Injustice is like, where does this come from? It's
If
like where
Justice isn't your
animals.
if Justice
Exactly.
isn't your animals, then
That's a
you're
good
not
point.
paying attention.
Exactly.
Good point.
It's just like it's unbelievable how the because even before I knew where Animals was in terms of the discography of Pink Floyd, I assumed before I even did that like research when I was like listening to Pink Floyd all the time, I was like, oh yeah, this came before Dark Side or whatever, and nope, not at all, and I was
Yeah,
so blown
no.
away by that.
Guys on either side of
yeah.
30 who are really bitter.
But yeah, this
although
is
Metallica wasn't on the other side of 30 in Justice, I will make that point.
Either
by the way,
side of
Jeremy.
30. Either side of 30.
it's
Fair
really
enough.
amazing. It's really crazy to me. But I think it was listening to these first 4 albums, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets, and Injustice for All. It's the best. It's one of the most unreal like starts to a band's career. Thinking about how difficult it is too, in terms of like you have a lot of bands who have that sophomore album slump, and like with
Yes.
Metallica, it just continued, right? It's really unbelievable, and also, and I texted, I think both of us, we were all on a group text, so I think I said in the group text too, like there is such an interesting like Dave Mustaine and then post Mustaine era, even
Yeah.
though it's like he wasn't even on any of the recordings,
Just
he's
influence.
still there.
He's the
Yeah.
Sid
I agree
Barrett
completely.
of Metallica.
And Pico, I would agree with what you said about, like, not only did they not have a sophomore slump, you could make the argument, and I would make the argument, that there is not a bad song on these 4 albums. Like, not like a slump. Like, there's some that are debatable, and I'll give you that. But like, it's definitely like, it's not an absurd statement to say that. It's not like, dude, you're fucking nuts. Like, no,
Yeah.
it is a statement that can be debated.
Yeah.
Couple filler tracks on the second half of Ride the Lightning, which is hard for me to say because that was always my pet album. But
Yeah.
the ceiling is up
Not,
there.
not a bad song.
The floor is not as
Yeah.
high as on others there.
Yeah.
There is a song on Ride the Lightning, and when we get to it, we'll talk about that, because it comes out of nowhere, and then it gets back into the album basically after that said song.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about. We'll jump into that. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
because
I
it's
know exactly what you're talking about.
so weird, because other than that, I felt like that album is like a no skip album, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, but yeah, this, and we're the idea of this episode is to put the there's like layers of tests, like the era of Metallica to the test, the albums we can test quickly, and then we're going to rank the albums in the era from best to worst. And I think, usually what I would like to do going forward is we were talking about getting a guest, but for this episode, we didn't want a guest, because this is the episode of like that I feel is the closest for us in terms of fan base, and like just hanging out and talking about these 4 albums.
yeah.
And it's like, there's no need to like have someone come on and you
I
can
agree.
Put it
discuss
to
it.
bed right now. If the Thrash album, the Thrash era of Metallica doesn't pass the nostalgia test, there's no Metallica. There's no podcast 40 years later. We're not talking about this.
There's no thrash metal. Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
thrash metal. We don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So let's even jump into it. Like, so
I'm down.
I mean, obviously they start. I mean, we're talking about their 4-album run of Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets, and Injustice for All. So and here we are in their debut album with Kill 'Em All, 1981, their debut album, and debut released in 1983.
83.
After forming in 1981, but there's not much else I want to say about it because I do want to just jump into it because it's like one
Yeah.
of the craziest, like most amazing first album release, other than I would say like comparable to Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
I would agree with how it changed things, yeah, and like
Mhm.
beginning and it's also like if you just think about it, like Hit the Lights obviously was on No Life Till Leather, but like and they we all know that story. They like threw together a band in like fucking 2 days, but this was like the real band.
Yeah.
And when that comes up and it just fucking and bangs you over the head like with the drums,
Yeah.
and then the riff kicks in, you're like, holy shit! Like this is. I remember the first time I listened to it, and it was
Mhm.
obviously not the first Metallica album I listened to, but the first time I
No.
heard Kill 'Em All, I was like, holy fucking shit! Like this is crazy,
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of people felt the same way when they heard that. Like, whoa, what is this? Like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
So it
It's
really
hard.
is just like the unbridled energy.
That's a good description. It's hard to imagine just because we were infants at the time, but you get the feeling it's clear. It's just like they were scrambling. It's like I don't know what the fuck this is, but we gotta get it. We gotta get it on tape. They didn't. I mean, they were clear. I mean, they were 19 years old, and they clearly were writing way above their heads, but they didn't really know what to do. There's a number of tracks on it that I noticed were just like they don't know how to start the song, so they're just like playing random chords. So then when they start playing like the fast good shit, it's like, oh, that's
Like
cool.
Hit the Lights. It's like noise.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable to think like when it opens too, you're blown away by James Hetfield's screaming. Like he's singing,
Screeching.
but he's doing way more screaming
Oh yeah.
than anything. And it's hard. It's amazing because after this album, it's all much more just
Oh, I
kind
agree
of more
completely, yeah.
raspier singing, and it's really interesting.
I don't think
He's-
it's until that song, the title track of Master of Puppets, that he actually sounds anything like approaching what he does today, which is wild.
Mm.
Yeah, but it was more singing. I would agree with you, Pico, because like here he's almost like a Tom Araya from Slayer-esque, like not on that high level, but like just like with the regular like gravelly voice,
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I also wondered too, because as we talked about Mustaine, a lot of this, I mean, let's be honest, like despite the fact that he doesn't have writing credits on every song, like fucking Dave Mustaine wrote riffs on every song on this album. I don't care what Lars and James worked out behind the door. Like they kicked him out of the band like right before they recorded it. Like there's no way in hell he didn't help write every song. It's obscene to think that he didn't, right? So I wondered, like, because if you listen to Dave's early singing style, and even up through like their big albums, it's a lot more like gravelly than James turned to more of that singing style. So I wonder if there's some of that influence going on here too, since they were like together when they were writing all this.
It's interesting though, because it's not like there's a drop off in the song quality from to Ride the Lightning, right?
No, he just kind of changed his voice
there's a change just in the overall songs. There's a change in the singing.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, but it's not getting worse. So it's not like Thoughts Are Full of Secrets, where they're trying to pretend to be Sid Barrett for an album.
Yeah,
Right.
no, this is it is the progression. I think this is like as raw Metallica as you.
Oh,
And Bubba had a stroke.
and there he goes. But I think like we'll just like I think what Billy, what he's saying, like this is as raw as it gets in terms of like for Metallica, and I think with the Mustaine influence as deep as it was, you
I'm back.
notice.
Sorry.
You're back.
That's okay. I was saying
good.
like what you said like before you dropped off in terms of like the rawness of this and the influence of Dave Mustaine on Kill 'Em All. It's 100% way more than like what James and Lars are telling us, right? And okay, whatever, right? Everyone has like their band issues in terms of like the first album, the first or couple albums, or who knows? So many bands go through so many different members of in that band, but what's great about Metallica is that you have Cliff Burton in the like waiting in the wings there. As soon as Mustaine's done, Cliff Burton kind of steps up with his like genius level understanding of music to kind of really guide the band, I think, through Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets, and really like I mean, I know in terms of Injustice, like we still have, in my opinion, you have all of that Cliff Burton like influence over the music and the progressive aspects of Metallica. So I see like it's weird, like a lot of people, it's funny, I posted something before we went on Instagram about like anyone want to share their thoughts on the Thrash Era of Metallica? And shout out to the Scaredy Cast there, I think in Arizona. I think that's where they are. Awesome horror podcast. Shout out to them. Immediately they were like, Megadeth rules, and that was that was their comment. And there are, I think, people that would probably say like, they would just like go, fuck Metallica, Megadeth. I was never a big Megadeth fan. I just couldn't get past the voice. The music's great, but I just can't get past. And Dave Mustaine is like
raging asshole.
Yeah, and I think that's why you can't have him in the band anymore. You have Lars and Dave Mustaine in the band together. No way. One of them was going to kill each other.
I agree. I look, there's people that are like that, and like, don't get me wrong, I agree with you. I think Dave is an insanely talented guitar player. Like, if anyone says he's a shitty guitar player, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. His voice, not my favorite. I still like Megadeth, not as much because his voice can get grating at points. But I think a lot of people too like are rubbed the wrong way by Metallica's later career and kind of where they went commercial. So I think it's almost like being anti like commercial Metallica. But I think, there's a big difference too, is like, I think what Cliff brought to the table, like all right, so we talked about this, like, all right, let's talk about like what the songs are about. This album, there's like a couple songs that are just like, hey, fuck you, we kick ass. Like Hit the Lights.
Half of them.
Motor Breath, Whiplash, Seek and Destroy, Metal Militia. It's just like, hey, fuck you, we kick ass. And I think that was Dave's influence, because you ever listen to like the Mechanics, which is like his version of the Four Horsemen? Yeah. First of all, like, he's trying to play way too fast, so it sounds ridiculous because he's just trying to like, but also the lyrics are about like a fucking guy that works in a garage. Like, they're dumb as shit, Whereas like, I think like if you listen to the other ones here, like Four Horsemen, Jump in the Fire, Phantom Lord, No Remorse, like that's where you start to see and I think, it's part of, obviously James has a lot to do with that, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cliff helped bring out like kind of like the deeper, darker thoughts that are getting to these songs as opposed to just like a thrash anthem, Yeah. So I think that's where, like, especially in the early career, it felt like, Dave's getting shit-faced all the time, just like playing songs like, hey, we're going to fuck you up, Yeah. And this wasn't the end of those songs from Metallica, don't get me wrong, but like,
oh, no.
But this album, like you said, Jeremy, it's like half of them.
Yeah. And then by the time you get to Don't Tread on Me, it's like, hey, let's just write one of those songs about America.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, I think it's funny. Like, I don't listen to Kill 'Em All that much. Like, it's one of the albums from Metallica I listen to. Like, in these four, it's the one I listen to the least. And
I would agree.
Listening
but
to
it's
it,
the one I've come around to the most in the last few years.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, listening to it a bunch of times, like leading up to this episode, I was like, oh man, why haven't I been listening to this album more, right? And because it's great. I mean, and the Four Horsemen is like, the riff.
I love that song.
And actually, this is the thing too. And to say what you were saying, Billy, like where Mustaine like was just probably trying to play as fast as possible and whatever, fuck everybody. You need a groove in metal at some point. Like, you need something. Like, when you have those like dun, 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 like, it also reminds me of like Arise, like Sepultura, like that, like
100%, bro.
Yeah. And that's what, like, and also when you have in the 90s, you have Pantera, like having that groove as well. You need that. Like, and Kill 'Em All is great.
Over your head, yeah.
Kill 'Em All is great.
Without
those are the things that were missing for me, with those like more moments where it was like a little more some breakdown, like groove,
juxtaposition.
Where, like, okay. Yeah, right? Well, you can't do that with Lars because he doesn't have the range.
To your point also about Four Horsemen, I literally listened to the Mechanics like right before because I'm like, I want to like see what the difference is. Like 3/4 of the way through Four Horsemen where there's like that bridge part. That's not in the Mechanics. It just gives speed. Like, that is not in the Mechanics. So there's an extra intro on the front end. But to your point, exactly, I think that was like, I think Cliff pushed them to fuck with the song structure too, right? We see that more as we go forward, right? But like, that's the beginnings of it where you start seeing it. Like, it's not just a straight thrasher all the way through. You're going to have we weren't talking acoustic interludes yet, right? But we were at least talking like, all right, let's like throw a little groove in here, switch it up, and then go back to the like, because it kind of it makes it vibe more,
Yeah.
All right, so That's Kill 'Em All, right? Have we encapsulated that? Do we need to move on to I don't know, like
I
I'm
just
having
want to
trouble
say one more
explaining
thing.
nothing.
I want to say one more thing about Kill 'Em All, and that's back to the Four Horsemen. Is like what you were saying, Billy. Like I can't imagine listening to a 7-minute song that's just all speed. Like
No, exactly.
that would be too much. I can't deal with that. And I just also want to say that when Kirk has to come in and do this work, and Dave Mustaine is still fucking out there. I'm still watching interviews with him, like throwing so much shade towards his way, just being like, he played my solos all right. It's like, yo, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, he's so hurt still. It's like watching interviews with Bret Hart still.
Where's
like,
my little
like,
Danish
kinda,
friend?
Yeah, and it's just like, come on, man. It's
And
just
Kirk's
like,
such a nice guy too.
he doesn't give a fuck. He was like,
He doesn't care.
yeah, you know, I'm in.
He's like,
I'm
I
in
got this
band.
job and now I'm a multimillionaire and I just play my guitar.
Let's
Yeah.
not forget that he founded another core thrash band in Exodus. Like, let's not forget that, right? Like,
Right, exactly.
just
Let's
up
just
the
throw
street.
that out the window and just be like,
Yeah.
who gives a shit? He's just some dude that took guitar lessons. Like, well, so what? A lot of people do that. Lars finally
Exactly.
took a drum lesson before Master Puppets, thank God.
Thank fucking Christ, Jesus.
But Kill 'Em All,
God.
if we had to put it to the test, I'm saying Kill 'Em All definitely passes the nostalgia test. It's still good, 100%.
Completely agree as well. And my last thought on this one, Seek and Destroy, obviously still a great song. They play it live every fucking time.
You're gonna talk about
18-minute
Mexico City?
version on live shit in
Good
Mexico
bins and
City
birds.
is the
Yeah,
greatest fucking version of Seek and Destroy ever. It's literally
I
an
remember
18-minute version of the song.
I remember vividly listening to it
amazing.
in Bill's Ford Focus in the garage of his parents' home in New Jersey.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's a
If
good
you haven't listened to it recently, Pico, I highly recommend it. It's good.
When you got 18 minutes to kill.
Exactly.
If I have 18 minutes, yeah, while I'm grading papers, I'll listen to it, definitely.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Everybody gets an A when you listen to that one.
Exactly.
And I accidentally, I'm typing feedback, and then it's like Seek and Destroy. Okay, and then that paragraph was really powerful.
You should seek and destroy it.
You should Seek and Destroy. Oh my God!
Duck, does it pass it for you?
Oh, did I not say so? I mean, how can it not?
All right. Yeah, we're all in agreement here. Kill them
Yeah.
all.
Absolutely, it was really fun, amazing. It passes the test. I'm gonna listen to it a lot more. Definitely, 100%.
The one problem I have, and this is always a conceptual issue, and I raise it every time, and Dan gets upset, is because I'm just like, where's the nostalgia? It's for nostalgia for something that happened when I wasn't aware of it, but am I being nostalgic?
Yeah,
for when I
but you discovered it
yeah.
at a time. It's when you in my opinion, it's when
Yeah.
you discovered it. Like, because none of us listened to these albums when they came out, right? If we
No,
did,
no.
we'd fucking hate the Black Album and everything forward. With rightfully so. I don't begrudge those people.
Yeah.
I
But
listened
we-
to Kill 'Em
Yeah.
All as a 1-year-old baby,
Yeah.
cover
Exactly.
to cover.
Yeah.
LP,
You know?
right up there with my Sesame
Yeah.
Street.
So I don't begrudge those people because I
Yeah.
went through that with In Flames where I fucking just started hating the band. So once
Oh
I
my
did that, I was
God.
like, oh shit, like yeah, I get those Metallica people, you
I
know?
don't want to do an In Flames era like that. That's sad to me.
No,
watching that band.
everything after
Yeah.
Claiming is pretty much shit.
Yeah. You know. Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Yeah. Okay. So.
It's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. So all right. So it definitely passes the test. Kill 'Em All. Really amazing. One of the best debut albums of all time. I think
Agreed.
across any genre at this point.
It
you can put it up there.
invented a genre for Christ's sakes, right?
Literally.
Like,
Yeah.
like it literally is stake in the ground. Thrash metal's fucking here, baby. You know?
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So that leads us to their second album, Ride the Lightning. I mean, it's theirs is, if you're watching this, and obviously you can see there's Jeremy repping Ride the Lightning back there, and is that Macbeth?
That is the Federal Theater Negro Unit Macbeth production, spearheaded by Orson Welles.
Wow.
nice.
Works Project
Oh my
Administration.
God.
Poster by Anthony Valonis, pioneering silkscreen artist. Check him out.
Amazing. So everyone check them out. So yeah, Ride the Lightning released. They love to release albums in July 27, 1984, by their independent record label Megaforce, which actually I have
Johnny
the
Z.
I have the Ride the Lightning on vinyl from Megaforce. The Megaforce
shit,
released
really?
on vinyl. Yeah. And it's really interesting listening to it on vinyl. It's really fun. But yep, 3 weeks. The album was recorded in 3 weeks with producer
took so long?
Flemming Rasmussen at Sweet Sound Studios in Copenhagen, Denmark. Really amazing. Bassist Cliff Burton introduced the basics of music theory to the band and had more input in the songwriting. And then beyond the fast tempos of its debut Kill 'Em All, Metallica broadened its approach by employing acoustic guitars, extended instrumentals, and more complex harmonies. So Kill 'Em.
I would like to
Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go
I'd like
ahead.
to make two remarks on what you said. First of all, Flemming Rasmussen. Do we know for a fact that the
He's
World's
not the
Strongest
strongman
Man
guy. No,
competitor
it's not
is
that
not
guy.
the same
I've
guy?
looked it
Okay,
up.
thank
It's
you.
not the same
Thank
guy.
you.
I've looked that up before because I had that question at first too. I swear to God,
Secondly,
it's not.
I traveled this year to Copenhagen and Sweden, and Stockholm, Sweden, and I was really contemplating trying to figure out how I could travel between the two by road to make a pilgrimage to the final resting place, so to speak. Of
Why didn't you go to Sweet Silent Studios?
it wasn't on our itinerary. Apparently they don't. It's not on most of the package tours.
Weak, Jeremy. Weak.
That's
I was
a
with
special tour.
We did go to the ABBA Museum with my 3-year-old,
Ah.
and that was a waste of time. So
Burn on
money.
ABBA.
I love ABBA, but the museum is pointless.
The museum is toilet. Oh my god. But yeah, Ride the Lightning. One more thing too. I just want to say this. Definitely. What's the other part? That this is. It is the last album to feature songwriting contributions from Dave Mustaine, and the first to feature contributions from Kirk Hammett. Now there are some arguments that says like there are some contributions from on Master Puppets as well.
Leper Messiah.
Yeah, and at a certain point, James and Lars did they did relent to that. But I mean, whatever. I mean, what does that even mean at certain points? It could mean like a 2-bar riff or something. Like we don't know.
Exactly. It took something off your riff tape that was literally that long, and you got to credit them.
Yeah, you got credit on like an 8-minute song. So it's just like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So all right. So Ride the Lightning, the sophomore album, Jeremy. Since you're repping it in the background there, what is your thought on this album and the re-listen? And obviously you've re-listened.
As I said, this was probably I listened to this probably most nights going to sleep on my vintage Discman in like 1997 when I was 15 years old. But I listened to it this week in short progression from having listened to Kill 'Em All again, and it's definitely a quantum leap forward. We talked about, I don't know if we talked about it here or when we were texting separately about the format that they kind of established. So in a way you can think about, I mean, they were only a year apart. If it was Guns N' Roses, Ride the Lightning and Master Puppets would have definitely been a double album, and holy fucking shit, what an album that would have been.
Oh my God.
I mean, yeah, I think I said off the bat that there are a couple filler songs in the back half of the album. You got your skip song there, but in terms of the ceiling level, it's there with anything that comes out on the next two albums. It really establishes the format that they use for the next three albums of, quick and brutal to start off, and then you got your flagpole, you just fucking epic, statement song on track 2, and then you slow it down with some ballads on 3 and 4. And I mean, what's the first 4 on Ride the Lightning? So we got
Fight Fire with Fire.
Fight Fire, Fire, title
Ride
track,
the Lightning. Bells.
Bell Tolls, and
Fade
Fade
to
to
Black.
I mean,
Rated 4 songs.
I mean,
it's pretty fucking intense.
Crazy. It's out of hand. And the fact is, like, every song, and it just, I don't know, like to opening up a Fight Fire with Fire, it sounds it just sounds so amazing, and the mix. And I think this is the thing too. Over all 4 of these Metallica albums, talking about the production is super important because the mixing it gets better. And then when we talk about Justice, it takes a huge, like, fucking Saint Anger dump on itself, sort of, like in many different ways.
Fault of Flemming Rasmussen.
I don't want to say it's worse. I want to say it's different.
It's different for
it was not delivered. Well, I guess it was delivered, but in a different way.
yeah. So, but Fight Fire with Fire, Ride the Lightning, and then what I love, like when you get to Fade to Black, that must have been such a I can't imagine listening to this album when it first came out, like after Kill 'Em All, and everyone's just like, they get to track 4, being like, "What the fuck is this?"
This is the first time that they're accused of selling out, right? Or even if you think about it, like just think about Fight Fire with Fire. Like if I'm buying this after Kill 'Em All and I hear like classical shit at the front, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then it's like boom, and it punches you in the mouth, you know?
Yeah.
So I just think adding that element, and we know that came from Cliff, right? Like
100%.
clearly that came from Cliff. But once again, Pico, to your point on the first, you know, where you were talking about with Kill 'Em All, how the juxtaposition was like the speed and the groove. This is where you kind of start to pull apart even further, where you're juxtaposing the thrash with like classical or acoustic, which makes it like that much more intense when you are hitting on the thrash, right?
We were talking about Cliff, and I think we should have hit it on Kill 'Em All, but we'd be remiss if we didn't mention it. His bass solo, Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, bass solo take 1, which is the eruption of heavy metal hard rock bass solos.
That's a fucking good point.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of the few times, and this is another quote off the Black Album episode that it's out right now. Everyone listen to that episode. Jeremy, you said something about people complaining about the bass in some of the other Metallica albums or something, and the Black Album you can hear it. And then you said, I wish people could name 4 bass lines or 4 bass parts that they hear in any Metallica song, and there aren't any except for
that aren't the bass solo. That aren't the bass solo.
Yeah, except for the solos in that and
bells.
Bell, for whom the bell tolls. That's like that you can hear.
Which is still basically
there's something else I think probably in some other. Did he have a bass solo in Orion?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's only solo. It's only solos.
It's a boom, like that middle part. Yeah, that's
yeah. There's only solos. You can't ever hear the bass, and it's like the biggest joke in heavy metal, like as well, like in terms of like bands. Yeah. But this, you still get Cliff like basically giving them a music theory lesson, and it pays off 100%. I mean,
Cliffily.
Yeah.
And the other thing that always blew my mind about Cliff is like he's not picking this; he's playing with his fingers on all this shit, which is batshit fucking nuts. And like Robert does that now too, which like just to have the ability to like move your fingers like that fast, and like the dexterity is insane to me. Like
it's like watching Flea. Like Flea does
exactly. It's nuts, ridiculous. Dude. It's nuts, dude.
Come on.
Who?
Mark Knopfler, famous Finglish style guitarist from Dire Straits.
Oh, right. Yeah. And actually one of the guitarists off I guess it's not like the Allman Brothers, but like one of their guitarists, like just a regular guitarist, was playing with his fingers. And also Wes Montgomery, a jazz guitarist who never played with a pick as well. So there we go. Anyway, it's like
we're so cultured.
We're so cultured. But I love this album. When I heard it for the first time, I was just blown away by the fact that this was the variety of different types of things that were going on in the album. What are some of your favorite tracks off this? Like, or if your go-to track, or
oof, that's tough.
My favorite, Fade to Black. Fade to Black's great. Best song ever written about a stolen amp. The instrumental hoedown, call it breakdown, from the middle passage of Ride the Lightning was probably one of my favorite sections of music ever. We haven't given any love to the second half yet, but Creeping Death and Call of Cthulhu probably up there with any of my top 10, 5 Metallica tracks.
Yeah,
it's got to be for Lovecraft fans.
Yeah. I love.
What's yours, Spigo?
I love Trapped Under Ice. It's I don't know why.
No, you don't.
I don't know how to live through this hell. Yeah, good song.
No, I don't. How come?
I don't think anyone loves Trapped Under Ice.
That is their problem.
I don't mind. I like Trapped Under Ice. Escape, not so much. I don't hate Escape.
I hate that song.
Well, James hates that song because James hates that because the record label apparently forced him to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's the song that's like when you think of like one of these things just doesn't belong here. It's Escape. It just doesn't belong on the album.
Out for my own, out to be free. Yeah, I mean, I could see how it's their version of a radio single, like even though it's not, but like, it's a little,
Even though Trapped Under Ice totally fits. I mean, it's like,
it's thematically appropriate. It's just
not
You're not a fan, Duck. You don't love it.
I never loved Trapped Under Ice.
I
but
want to see them play
doesn't that
that
come
live.
right before? Doesn't that come right before Creeping Death? I mean, that's
No.
still back
No,
to,
Escape does. Escape
oh,
does.
Escape Death.
Yeah, that's what's so
It comes-
weird
okay,
about the
5 to
album.
6, and then 7's Creep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually,
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite song on this album, like, look, Bell's a great song, but it's one of those songs up there with, like, Sandman. I've heard it so many fucking times that, like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like, all right. I really like Ride the Lightning, and I love the middle part where it slows down a little, and it's like, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 and then, like, Kirk has the crazy, brrr, you know, like,
Yeah.
I love that part. Like, that's a great song. And then if you think of lyrical content where it's someone fucking going in the electric chair, like, once
So
again,
crazy.
talking about dark lyrical content, we got Fight Fire with Fire is about nuclear war. Ride the Lightning is about going to fucking
Being
death in the electric
electrocuted.
chair.
Yeah.
From the Bell Tolls, that's where you started seeing, like, hey, we're gonna take fucking literary influences here. Like, holy shit, like we're not just a bunch of dumbass fucking teenagers, right? You know?
Mhm.
Suicide, granted over an amp, but still, like, you know, Fade to Black, I think, is one of those songs that got looped in with, like, Ozzy's Suicide Solution, some of these other people in the 80s, like,
Yeah.
oh, people killed themselves because of this. Whereas I think the majority of people who, you know, used it as like, oh, shit, like, these famous people feel this way too, you know? So,
Yeah.
And Creeping Death, going back to James's
Yeah.
clear religious upbringing and writing about
goddamn, yeah.
biblical themes, got
Right.
Yeah.
literally damned by God. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Trapped Under Ice, I guess that's about being trapped under ice.
Trapped Under Ice is about being trapped under ice.
I
pretty
don't know
cool.
why. There's just something every time I hear that. I just love it. I don't know.
Is it trapped under ice or trapped in ice?
Trapped
Trapped
under?
Well,
Yeah.
right, it's trapped under ice, but the way he's describing it seems more like you're in a frozen block of ice. Trapped under ice seems more like you're, you know, in the water under the ice and you're
I
gonna drown.
don't know
not
why. I
freeze.
just love it. I think it's I don't know why I love it.
It's
I
a
think
good
it's
song,
just-
man. That's why you love
Maybe you
it.
should have written about being frozen in carbonite, and then it would have been more popular these days. Random aside, if you take a look at Han Solo frozen in carbonite, he actually bears a facial resemblance to Gary Shandling.
Oh my god.
It's true. Take a look. Take a look.
You know, that I always wondered. I'm reading the Trapped Under Ice lyrics now, and I heard this the other day. I was wondering, you know, when he said "Hand of Doom has a tight grip on me," do you think that's a subtle Black Sabbath reference?
Okay,
It wouldn't
so
surprise me.
so according to Wikipedia, Trapped Under Ice is about a person who wakes from a cryonic state.
Okay.
Okay. Realizing there's nowhere to
Oh,
go and no
shit.
one will come to the rescue, the person helplessly awaits impending doom. The song is built on a fast-picking galloping riff, and it's
Oh
inspired
god
by
damn,
a
that's
track.
terrifying fucking
See,
thought.
but then again, that goes to why
Yeah.
I think that's the wrong preposition. The under ice part, unless
That's fine. I mean,
Well, under
but
the
Jesus
influence
Christ.
of
Of ice.
cryonic ice, like it's like Demolition
like
Man.
under
I
anesthesia.
feel like okay, this is what happened. This is the song probably that inspired Demolition Man because
Oh,
of
that's it.
cryo prison
Only no
Or
one's there to let him out, and it's
Austin
just
Powers.
stuck there.
or
It's
Austin
like
Powers.
one. It's like one, but in ice instead of having no face or arms or legs.
Dude, when we get to one,
I think James must have suffered from sleep paralysis, and this is where his inspiration came from.
No, I think he suffered from crazy religious parents that gave him some really fucked up mental issues.
And
Yeah.
sleep paralysis. That
Yeah.
combination.
Fine, fair enough.
that's
Fair enough, Jeremy.
and then he not only did he have overbearing crazy parents, then he was in a band with an overbearing maniac of a drummer.
Oh, I wonder why he went that way.
You know, those failed tennis players can be very exacting.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. But I mean, this album from beginning to end, man, I think it kicks. Like, look, Escape is look.
Ugh.
I don't love Escape. I wouldn't say it's a like, oh god, that's the worst fucking song I've ever heard. Like, you know, I'm
Yeah.
still like, eh. The biggest thing of this album, I still kick myself in the ass for this. So when Metallica tried to do their own like festival, like we're old, so like 15 years ago at this point, I guess.
Yeah.
They were doing it in Atlantic City, and it was a 2-day ticket, and I bought it. But the first day, I had my friend's wedding that I decided to go to. The first
Ooh.
night, they played Ride the Lightning from beginning to end in its entirety.
Wow.
The second night, they played the Black Album in its entirety. They did play it end to beginning, which is a little interesting, but I would have liked to see Ride the Lightning, because I think that was like one of the 5 times they've ever played Escape live. And granted, not a great song, but just to be like, hey, I was there and I saw it live. Like, it would be kind of
That
cool.
was 15 years
Yeah.
ago?
It was probably more like it was probably 2011 reality or
Hmm.
2010. Is it
I need
Bader
to know-
Field
I
in
need to-
Atlantic City? Me and Anthony
Yeah,
went.
I have a vague recollection. Oh, you did go, but you didn't go to the
You know,
second night.
No, didn't go the first night. I went to the second night because it was Saturday and Sunday. Saturday I had my friend's wedding. Sunday
I feel like I need to know whose wedding it was.
it was Debo. You remember Debo, the guy DJ my wedding, Louis' friend?
DJ
Yeah.
Depot.
Yeah, so
You got to be there for your wedding, DJ.
Plus, it was a big old Jersey wedding, so you can't, a lot of good food.
You were intoxicated?
Yeah, they had beef tripe and red sauce. It was very Italian.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Who serves tripe at a wedding?
It was in like the appetizer hour, bro. It was like every Italian dish you could ever think of.
Oh my god!
It was pretty crazy.
Oh my god! So
But
just a funny side note. So this song comes out. When did this album come out again? 84. 1979. Rupert. Hold on a second. In 1979, Rupert Holmes released "Escape," the Pina Colada song.
It's a great song.
There's 2 Escape songs.
I think I'd rather listen to that one.
Now I'm just thinking of the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where they're going to the Buffett show and they're saying, "I can't wait for them to play the Pina Colada song." And
very often
saying, well,
mistaken.
that's a great song, but it's not Jimmy Buffett.
Engelbert Humperdinck, right? No. Is that who it is? No, someone else. That's a different guy.
Engelbert Humperdinck?
Yeah, that's not the guy that's in Pina Colada.
No, it's
Rupert Holmes is the guy.
Rupert Holmes.
You just said that, yeah.
Yeah. Album
Sorry.
Partners in Crime, 1979.
If you like
Check it out.
Let me tell you something. That song, I did a whole episode on that song too. Manny and I had on.
Did you?
One of the co-hosts of the Beard Al Yankovic podcast.
Weird Al's my first concert.
Yeah, they do a Weird Al album and they pair it with a beer or some drink. Like that's what their podcast is.
I'll have
they're
to
really
check
cool.
that out. That
check
sounds
them
awesome.
Out. Yeah, they're really
I'm
awesome.
definitely checking that out.
And she came on, one of the co-hosts came on and talked about that song. And man, that song is just so weird. It's about 2 people who hate each other and are about to cheat on one another.
They cheat on each other with each other.
They
try to,
yeah. It's really a song about 2 alcoholics that no idea what's going on.
I've heard a few of those songs. Weird Al's coming to play right by me, right around my wedding.
He's coming to down here too. I may bring my son.
It's already sold out though, so I'm gonna have to get him pretty much in the secondary market.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus, dude.
I saw Weird Al at the Whole Foods by me, just buying.
Did you?
Oh, he wasn't performing. Okay.
No, he was just buying crackers or something.
We'll cut this out of the episode, but did you guys see the Weird Al biopic with fucking Daniel Radcliffe?
Oh my god,
no.
Oh, Weird. You gotta watch it. It's
amazing.
Oh, it's so fucking good.
It was made by Roku. It was ridiculous.
It's so good. It's basically like Daniel Radcliffe is playing Weird Al, and it's like if everything was like once again introverted. Like Michael Jackson copies his "Eat It" and makes "Beat It" because his song is the biggest song in the world.
He's dating Madonna, and I won't even get into the
you gotta watch it.
It's drug cartel aspect of it.
Oh yeah, it's absurdly hilarious. If you have any like appreciation for Weird Al, which sounds like you do, like I would recommend checking it out because it's fucking funny. And the guy's pretty goddamn genius. He's made his fucking career up making parody songs.
Oh
for
yeah,
40 years.
Radcliffe is in on this 110%. By the way,
was that
Daniel Radcliffe is 110% dedicated to the bit. By the way,
I heard.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, off that non sequitur.
Where were we?
To the Metallica. We were talking about beginning and Great Album.
Yeah.
We were slowly making our way to Master of Puppets.
So yeah, Ride the Lightning. Last track, total instrumental, which is really interesting and pretty good. I mean, I liked it. I think they did better instrumentals. I think this one's a good instrumental.
Talking about the Call of Cthulhu?
I like it, but I like Orion a lot better.
Well, you're wrong, but you're entitled to be wrong. That is one of the variations from the format where they flipped the instrumentals on between Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets.
I'm going to throw a curveball in here that I kind of like the third instrumental the best. So we got all three angles here.
Oh, To Live Is to Die?
Yeah.
That's a good one
I
too.
think I would argue that I understand what you're saying on Pico because the Call of Cthulhu does get a bit repetitive, right?
Yeah.
And I actually really liked when they put out S&M. I thought this is one of the songs that worked the best with the symphony because it added different layers. Because I mean, if you think about it, even the end of this, it sounds like a fucking symphonic song, right? Where it's like a fucking timpani roll. It's like da da da, like So when they mix that in with like the symphony, I thought it added another layer. But at points, this one does get a little repetitive for me at times. But it's still a fucking great song. You probably could have cut it by a minute and a half, and it would have been a little tighter.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I'm gonna get picky.
Jeremy's like, you're wrong.
But Jeremy, I don't like your point is valid.
I don't see your incorrect opinion,
and that's fair. But I'm not saying it's a bad song. I fucking love this song. I'm just trying to I'm trying to bring a critical eye to things where I see them.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that.
This is the Nostalgia Test podcast, but not the Critical Eye podcast. Okay.
Wow, everybody. Check out Nostalgia 101 episodes for the Critical Eye podcast episode. But yeah, Ride the Lightning.
Dude, I just
so
looked.
fun.
It's 8 minutes and 50 seconds long.
It's a long song. Okay,
it's fucking long, bro. Like, good song.
How many times did I drop Pink Floyd references? That's nothing. That's like a quarter of an echo.
It's fair.
It's fair.
But there's more variations in it. Pink Floyd, like, I think. Anyway, we agree to disagree, bro.
Wait till we get to the Lulu era, okay?
Oh Jesus, I'm not looking forward to that.
Like, I already was looking forward, like looking ahead at some of the other things, and like looking at certain songs on certain albums. I'm like, oh fuck, like, we're doomed.
I've never listened to Lulu. That's gonna be the worst, bro. It's gonna be the worst.
Yeah, we're doomed. But like this album was just a joy. It was mixed well. It was so much fun to listen to. Lars, whatever, he's doing his thing.
He's fine on this one.
Yeah, I mean, really, and we'll talk about him more as we get into some of these other more complex songs as well, because I don't know, I just sometimes think about what would be like to have a drummer that could do more than the fills that he does, like
Dave
that
Lombardo.
Yeah.
Charlie Batante from Anthrax, like either of those guys would be fucking beasts on this shit.
Yeah.
Vinnie Paul, jeez.
Yeah.
What's his name? Gene. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Holigan. The guy. I think he's bounced around a lot, but he may be in Testament now.
No, that would be great. Even like who's the guy that played who had one arm?
Oh, the guy from Def Leppard.
Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Like, I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah. I see a scene where that guy comes in and Lars is leaving with Bringing on the Heartbreak playing over the scene.
Like, have you guys seen that Instagram account? What's his name? That guy that drums and he's like a magician drummer.
Oh,
like,
yeah. The Italian guy?
He's just like the entire song with one hand?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll play Slipknot with one hand. Yeah.
He's like
Slipknot, he's
drinking a cup of coffee. It's like ridiculous. But anyway, Ride the Lightning. Any final words on Ride the Lightning?
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
I would say this one has I love this one because this was the first album that I listened to of this whole era. Like, after, getting in with the Black a little bit and then Load and Reload, because that's when we were in middle school. Like, this is the first I listened to this era. I remember Joe brought it over in my fucking basement. Yeah. And I remember my aunt walking downstairs being like, what the fuck are you listening to? Where I was just like, I heard it and I was like, this is amazing. So yeah, this one holds a special place in my heart. Great fucking album.
Yeah. It doesn't pass the nostalgia test. Nostalgia doesn't.
Oh yeah, of course. It's
100%
does. Yeah. There's not even a question here. This fucking passes the test.
100%.
He's paying from an old wound. Dan.
Yeah, it's still good. And yeah, it's 100% still good. Passes the test. It's a great album. If you're listening to this 100 years in the future and there's still music and ways to get music, listen to Ride the Lightning. It will blow your mind.
They're going to be able to find this digital ephemera in 100 years from now.
Yeah, and
you think the cloud server sitting in Loudoun County that's hosting this is still going to be there?
Dude, who knows?
Nobody.
All right, so that brings us to the next part of the Thrash era, and that is the 1986 release of Master Puppets. And
we're all hearing the riff in our head right now, right?
Yeah, this is I don't even know what to say. This is the first Metallica album I ever heard, and
what? Really?
Jason Martinez showed me this album.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Well, because here's the thing: in 5th grade, Jay Martinez, me and him used to hang out and play hockey and just chill, and he was a huge metal fan in 5th and 6th grade. Bro. Yeah, and
Four in the Chamber.
Yes, oh my god! And he showed me Master Puppets, and I listened to Master Puppets. I listened to Pantera. We watched the Pantera tour videos.
Oh god, vulgar video.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. I know.
Has anyone checked on him? Is he okay? Having started listening to this in 5th
Oh
grade?
yeah, James
that
doing
video is
man.
great. That's
He's
awesome.
doing great. Yeah, and this is the first album I bought on cassette, and I love it. I love this fucking album. I love this album. This is the one I listen to the most, 100%.
Side note, I think the last time
agree.
I saw Jay Martinez was also the last time I saw Tom
Robert Palmer.
Madson, which was the night of Steve's
Yes.
30th birthday party at TR's when I had my gallbladder attack that ultimately led to having to have it surgically removed.
And that's the last time it was TRs, I think. Oh, is it still TRs?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not
No,
TRs
it's still
anymore.
No,
TRs,
it's something
dude.
else. Is it? I thought it changed now.
It's the Williston. It's a place that serves a $30 hamburger. Although according
By the way,
to Manny's wife, it's a good hamburger.
Before we dive into the album, you can't see it because I'm trying to hold the vinyl. It's not fucking working. Whatever. But
Well, you got to drop the background.
I'm just gonna say. I'm not gonna show it. I'm looking at it myself. But all right, Pico, maybe you could put the album cover on here when you're editing it. But I didn't notice for years when you look at the album cover, you're like, oh, this is fucking cool. Like it's all the tombstones with a crazy looking sky. The crosses. If you look closely though, there's a fucking army helmet on one of the crosses, and there's dog tags on one of the crosses. Which I'll be honest, I didn't notice that shit for years. And the front left cross has a helmet hanging on it, and the middle cross has a dog tag hanging on it. So I just something before we jump into the album that always kind of blew my mind when I noticed that fucking 10 years later. I'm like, am I an idiot? Like, how did I never see that? So interesting.
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking at the vinyl, it's much larger than you probably saw it originally.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then this is also in support of this album while they were touring. This is the album where Cliff Burton passed away tragically during a bus accident where he was thrown from that bus and killed. And that was something I saw in a comic book that was a Metallica comic that they actually retold that story at Jason Martinez's house.
Jeez, dude, that's dark. They told that fucking story. Shit.
A lot of things happened to you at Jason Martinez's house.
Jay Martinez, Matt Antonia's house.
Oh, God. I can only imagine what happened at Antonia's house.
I mean, that's not even go all the way back, but I was sometimes very afraid to go there. He had other older brothers that I was definitely afraid of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I grew up at Tommy's house, so
I think.
And that's the nostalgia.
So Master Puppets.
Oh, hey, that thing.
So thoughts on this because Battery.
Yeah, Battery. Boom! To me, this is a top three song for me.
I would have guessed that was your top one.
I have trouble picking. I go back and forth, but it's definitely top three. This is. I mean, this song. Mm-hmm. This is if I'm I remember if I need to get pumped up, I'm gonna throw this fucking song on. And I will say this is once again a hey, this is not about some battery. This is hey, we fucking I think it's written about a club in San Francisco, basically. I think that's what I read, right? If I remember correctly.
I don't know what you read.
I think this is one of the last fuck you, we kick ass songs. Which there's another one on this album, but this is the first on this album.
Yeah, it supposedly refers to angry violence as in terms of assault and battery, but I mean, I think it also, like you said, this is one of those songs you could talk about that. It's probably, this is one of those we kick ass songs because I feel in terms of 3 albums in, Metallica is just constantly reminding people we staked the claim here in thrash. We are thrash and we are not going anywhere right now. And we're going to take the genre, the subgenre, and we're going to do so much to it. This album, they do so many different things. They take what they did on Ride the Lightning and then really did even more in this one.
Insanity.
Yeah.
Here's, according to Wikipedia, the lyrical meaning of Battery is discuss control of anger over one's behavior. However, the theme of the song is based around the San Francisco thrash scene of the 1980s. The most prominent club played by Metallica was the Old Waldorf at 444 Battery Street in downtown San Francisco. The lyric, "Cannot kill the family, Battery has found me," is a statement that society does not understand the scene and those within it, the family, will defend it as a show of solidarity against the glam metal scene that was popular in the Los Angeles area. The tone of the song is a familiarize in the positive release of energy through interest in metal.
Yeah, I don't know about that last part, but it's basically it's a fuck you, we kick ass, not just for the band, but for the scene in general. Because I think this is around the time, right? What was it? was it after Kill 'Em All where they moved up? Because we didn't talk about this in Lightning, but I think that's where they moved to the Bay Area, right? And that's where they came boys with like Exodus and Gary Holt and Testament, and Death Angel was up there too. So it was like that whole burgeoning thrash scene in San Francisco. So that, I mean, it's not just a fuck you, we kick ass for Metallica. It's for like the whole like scene basically.
That's the weirdest
Which is pretty
part.
cool.
But that's the weirdest part, that there was all these thrash bands in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Like it makes a whole new like
if you're
meaning
going to San Francisco, punch somebody in the face.
Yeah,
It's like the flip of the hippie era.
Exactly, and it takes a whole new meaning to Hate Street. So like, I mean,
You know what? I bet you a lot of these kids, their parents were probably the hippie era. So I wonder if it was the natural rebellion to go the other way.
I mean, I feel like it was for me. I mean, that was like,
Fuck yeah, right?
yeah, all the music that like, you know, you're being told is so great and it's never going to be better than this, and your music is trash, and you're just like, well, I'm gonna listen to something even more, even louder than I was listening to before. You know.
Yep.
Saying we're doing this because of the Beach Boys and the Beatles.
Yeah, and you're writing like "eat fuck" on your guitar.
Like, I want to listen to a band where the guitarist is giving the crowd the finger the entire time they're playing.
Oh yeah, I love it. That's like, look, glad James is sober. I know he had a problem, but like, drunk James with the crowd is great. He's like just hostile and aggressive with the crowd. He's like, "Fuck you too!" Like, he's just letting out extra anger. It's great.
Yeah. Now there's like videos of
they love it.
Before they go on, he's like smoking a cigar, drinking a cup of coffee or something.
He's like, "Metallica family, I love you."
He looks great. He seems great, but it loses something in translation.
Yeah, agreed.
But then again, so does being 42 versus 22. So what are you gonna do?
Fair enough.
I don't know what you're talking about, but
back to the songs, like, you know, this is one where it just kind of pulls you in, right? Battery hits you, and then you go to the title track, which is like iconic fucking Metallica track, right? Like, shit.
I think I said it up front. It's the first track where James sounds like James, like what you think of him sounding like from Black Album.
I would agree with that.
Not just the streak and the scream.
Yeah, the production is a little more echoey, but the voice is there.
Yeah. It was a little more echoey. I thought this one probably had the best production out of all four for me. Master Puppets is a song I try to learn to play. It's like fucking difficult to play.
Hard as shit, I can imagine too. Yeah.
The slow part's fun to play. I love playing that part. But that's the thing I love about Master Puppets is that they take what they did in Ride the Lightning, and they're like, okay, we're gonna have even more complex areas of like these songs with more slowdowns, more time changes, more, you know, the solos were really great. And I think like what they were able to do in this album was be very progressive still, and still create like very tight songs. Like the songs were tight still. So like it was really like interesting to be able to have that type of listening experience where you're just like, okay, these songs are much longer in many ways, but I don't feel overwhelmed by the listening of it. Like it's
I think that's. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. Like, what is Puppets? I'm looking it up now.
It's like 8.5 minutes.
It does not feel like that. No fucking way.
I'm looking at track listing now, and I think what I'm surprised about here is that Disposable Heroes, probably the fastest, most brutal song in all of Metallica's catalog, is 8 minutes and 17 seconds long, which is the equivalent of like 4 hours. Yeah,
it's crazy. I played that song first of all in high school, Mineola High School, where we all went. I was in Bruce Castellano's English class. Shout out to Bruce. There you go. And we were asked to bring a song in and their lyrics and talk about it. And I brought in Disposable Heroes. And we had to listen to all 8 minutes. And like, I was
like, well, class is over.
Yeah, I know that there's a solo and then another solo, and it's just going, right? And who's in my class? Scott. He was into it. And he's just like, yeah. And he just like knew that this shit was going to keep going.
Oh, that's awesome.
I loved it. It was fucking great.
Dude, that song. I mean, this song has some of the fastest Metallica songs, but then it also has some of the grooviest Metallica songs. Where you think of like a like obviously Sanitarium is the quintessential slow song that builds and gets fast. But like when you think of like Leper Messiah, that song's like groovy as fuck, dude.
Yeah.
Or even like Thing That Should Not Be, that's more just like weird offbeat. So you're kind of seeing like the progressiveness. So it's really interesting. But yeah,
Did they
Disposable
steal the
Heroes.
title of Leper Messiah from Bowie?
I was
Isn't
wondering
that
that as well. The
crazy?
first time, yeah, I bet they must have. I wonder if they like just pulled lyrics. And like I said, they had Hand of Doom earlier, you know. So,
Freak out in a moon age daydream, oh yeah.
oh shit, I just thought of that when I was talking about how Sanitarium's like the formulaic slow song that builds into a gallop at the end. Did they steal the Sabbath format for those? Like, think of like old school Sabbath songs where they like have like the regular, and then at the end it like totally switches and makes fast pace. I wonder if they thought of that or if it just happened naturally.
They built.
No, I'm not saying steal. Sorry, that's a bad word to say. I wonder if they like leveraged that concept.
You
Didn't mean steal.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at that corporate speak. Yes, you said it right out the front. They were obviously heavily influenced by the new wave of British heavy metal and the old wave of British heavy metal.
Yeah.
And they said, what happens if we just give this some cocaine type influence? And here we are.
Literally,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's the 80s.
This part we started getting to that, yeah.
Exactly. And like at this point, Metallica is like huge. I mean, I guess I'm not sure. I mean, I wasn't alive then, or I was
This
alive.
was the
but I
Ozzy
wasn't.
tour, right? Wasn't Puppets the Ozzy tour that blew them up?
Yes.
I gotta look that up. Yeah, I think
Maybe.
it was.
Yes.
That is-
Yeah.
That is a good question because I said off the bat, it's like, why are we talking about this now, right?
Let's
Because
see, Metallica.
this was not commercially, viable music for most of the 80s. And then somehow by the time they got to Puppets, they were doing, large scale arena tours,
Mm-hmm.
doing music videos. That by the time that Black came out in 91, they were essentially the biggest commercial musical product of that century, which is
Yep.
pretty meteoricized as things go from the Battery.
Yeah.
Exactly. This was the Ozzy tour. So it was part of the Damage Inc. tour, which was the name of this tour. And they were on tour with Ozzy from March 27th, 86 to February 13th, 87. And, everything I've read and seen, and like, cause I have their like back to the front, like the visual history of Puppets, like that tour is basically what started to push them into the stratosphere, where people would be like, oh, like, we're going to see Ozzy. You got to fucking get there early to check out this band Metallica. And I feel like that's like everything I've seen and read, like that just started to kind of push them into that next echelon.
Wow. So like according to Wikipedia on the accolades part, it says like this is the magazine would later rank this album second on its 2017 list of 100 greatest metal albums of all time, behind Black Sabbath's Paranoid. And I mean,
basically the establishing album of
right,
metal.
like you can't like, I mean, at that point it's just like, well, this created the genre, there's going to be, whatever we have to put after that.
That's like being second to the Bible.
Exactly. But a much cooler Bible.
Well, I don't know. They reference it heavily on the first couple albums, obviously.
Right. I mean, I would say, and Rob Trujillo says this is his favorite one. He's like his favorite album of Metallica's. And it's
prior to this
also
contract.
it's also.
Did you say Lars is his favorite drummer too?
Yeah, right. And it also like it had more than 500,000 copies were sold in its first year, even with virtually no radio airplay and no music videos. Not a single music video. In 2003, it was certified 6 times platinum with 6 million copies shipped. I mean, to think that an album in the first year can sell 500,000 physical copies now. I mean, I can't even imagine an album selling.
In fairness, we know the people who listen to this music, some of them probably need 3 or 4.
Yeah, but I also wonder if that's the Ozzy influence too, right? Where people are seeing him on tour and being like, "Oh fuck, I need to go buy this album," right? Like, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm actually grabbing that book that I have now and looking at it.
Can you imagine being at the Master Puppets, like when they're touring Master Puppets, like for this album, and going to see them open for Ozzy?
Like, because what's your frame of reference for that? I mean, maybe Ozzy.
You'd be like, holy shit, I just saw this band open for Ozzy and they were fucking insane. Like, it blew my fucking mind. I'm going to tell everyone I know they need to go buy this fucking album. That's probably what happened. That's why they sold 500,000
86, so Ozzy was pretty recent in his solo career. He was still an absolute fucking madman at that point, right?
No,
So
oh yeah, he was a nut job, but you're 3 albums into that point with Ozzy. I think you're at Bark at the Moon at that point, which I think came out in '85.
So he's in the thick of his solo career, right?
Yeah, he's fucking still coked out of his mind. That's around the same time where he snorted ants with the Motley Crue thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's my favorite part of like this. That's that video. There's some video where James Hetfield's like motherfucker sniffing ants. Like,
yes, I think that's on A Year and a Half in the Life of Metallica. They talk about that at one point. It may be, yeah.
it's the greatest part. Yeah. They like cut right to James Hetfield. It's like motherfucker was sniffing ants. It's like, oh my god! But can you? I mean, and at that point, how old are they when Master Puppets comes out? Like
23, 22,
yeah.
24.
Yeah, I was not doing anything this productive at that age.
No, I know. I remember. I was there.
So 1980. Let's see. 1983, Bark at the Moon came out. 1986.
Oh shit!
The Ultimate Sin. So
okay, so this is the Ultimate Sin. All right.
But he'd already done Blizzard of Oz, Diary of a Madman, Bark at the Moon.
He did those really quick.
So when you think of like also 3 albums,
again,
like 3 albums, like Metallica put out these 3 albums. Ozzy's like putting 3 albums together.
Is that 81, 82, 83? He did those 3? Jesus fucking Christ.
He did it 80, 81, 83.
Madman 81.
Wow.
Bark at the Moon 83.
And then 86.
Rhodes was dead by the 3rd one, right? Rhodes was dead by Bark at the Moon already, so I think he just did the first 2. Wow, so that's pretty... Yeah, so then you basically align with that. You have Ozzy, like everyone knew Ozzy from Sabbath, and his solo career is like fucking taken off with those first 4 albums, right?
Yeah.
And then you align this, which is taken off at the same time, and put them on a show together, like it's like fucking everything aligning perfectly. It's fucking nuts, dude. Like, it must have blown your mind being at that show.
I mean, I can't think of a concert where I saw the opening act. I'm trying to think. And I didn't really understand who they were. And I was like, oh my God, that's my next favorite band. Like, I'm trying to think. Like,
yeah, I've seen a lot of bands that I got into, but not like my favorite band. I'm trying to think.
Jeremy?
I'm thinking. That's why I got so quiet. That and I'm
because you know what it is like
Ozzy Osbourne discography.
We're all fucking raised in the era where if I'm going to a show nowadays, or even like the last 20 years, I'm like, oh, let me check out this band on Napster back in the day, or now like on Spotify. Like I'm not going in cold, right? Because I'm like, oh, do I want to go in early, or am I going to drink another beer outside? Like, you know, right? Like I know bands that were like I've listened to them and been like, oh, this is fucking great. And like one of them was Children of Bodom. Like the first time I was going to a show, I was going to see do you remember Dimmu Borgir? I was going to see them, and Children of Bodom was opening, so I listened to them on fucking Napster, and I was like, oh, this band's great. But it wasn't like walk in mind blown like this must have been. So it's a different fucking thing, you know?
Is this blasphemy? You're using the Napster word on a Metallica focused podcast?
Oh God.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
The audacity.
I remember seeing a show that, and this was at a certain point during I guess the early 2000s, when I saw in one show, I think it was Shadows Fall, Lamb of God, God Forbid, and then there was one other band that did, that was in that like era of heavy metal bands, and I was like, holy shit, this is and it was all at Irving Plaza, and I was
that
like,
the one where Amon Amarth headlined?
Maybe?
Did we go to that together?
No.
Was it In Flames? Before In Flames sucked totally? Was it that show? Because I remember we went there and listening to Only for the Week at one point, but I can't remember if
that was
show.
Another show you and I went to.
So, question.
This was with...
How are you able to hear?
Yeah, I don't know. But Shadows Fall was a band that I was like, this is the next biggest band. Like Shadows Fall to me was going to be huge. And their albums, like their first album before their biggest albums, like some of their early albums, were like these Metallica albums, like Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Injustice, where you had these progressive long songs, unbelievable solos, slowed down parts, grooves, like you had all that, and you had a great drummer. But Shadows Fall all of a sudden just like fell off the face of the earth, I think. I don't even know what happened to them.
I think they came back like a year or two ago, but yeah, they disappeared for like a decade.
Yeah. But like it was such a weird era because there was a lot of like, heavy metal bands like Chimera and The Haunted, and you have all these amazing bands that are coming out, but it
great
wasn't,
band.
yeah, but it wasn't like this where like if I went to a show and I saw a band that was at the level of Master Puppets level of Metallica, I think my brain would explode and I'd be
Yes.
like, I don't know what my world is now at this point.
Agreed. Yeah, it's nuts, dude.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
And this also, I'm looking at this book, and Pico, by the way, I'll take a bunch of pictures from this book and send them to you if you want to use it when you're editing. But there's also the tour where James broke his fucking arm on the skateboard.
That's right, on a skateboard. I read that. I was like, what? I want to see James on a skateboard.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the 80s, man. Everybody has skateboard.
That's a fair point.
What is he doing? What
Oh
is
my
he
God.
doing? But favorite songs off this, I think, for me, I love obviously Master Puppets, but I totally would listen to Disposable Heroes like over and over again. And I love Orion. I love that song. I cannot
It's a great
get
song.
enough of that song. I just love that song. Absolutely love it.
Great transitions in that song.
Yeah.
Oh, Jeremy's
great.
going to disagree.
All great songs on this album. For me, I mean, Sanitarium might be a highlight, but honestly, the first and last tracks on this one are both phenomenal. Battery
Yeah,
and
oh my
Damage
God,
Inc. We didn't even
Jesus,
talk about
Damage
Damage
Inc.
Inc. But yeah, I think this has got definitely a higher ceiling than Ride the Lightning. But I think I don't know. I think for me, and it just goes back to when I encountered it. I think the pinnacles of Ride the Lightning still hit higher for me. But I mean, this is
Really? Wow.
I know that's
Hey,
crazy.
man, you're entitled to your opinion, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
wrong,
That's
but,
just
like,
me, but I mean, this is unimpeachable. It's
Wrong.
unimpeachable. It's unimpeachable. It's Master of Puppets. It's got Master right in the name, and they earn it.
It's just like I don't know. Like I love Ride the Lightning, but as soon as I got to Master Puppets, I was just like, I felt like I was home.
There you go. But we talk about this, right? There are things that are just obviously so. We texted about this before that are just absolutely god level things, and you've heard them so many times so that you've internalized it. So Master of Puppets is Master of fucking Puppets.
But,
it's in fucking old school.
this is also, I mean, for me, because
Great
I
scene, by
really
the way.
like the fucking dark evil shit, like the imagery.
Oh, really?
And this is where they fucking this is like where they embrace like the pus head shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
is a fucking skull with two spiked bats through it. Like, like this is where they really kind of. I think this is part where they first started doing the pus head art, right? Like, and really got like the fucking,
I think it probably was around this album right after leading into
but it's like
Justice.
Yeah.
it's kind of leaning
Justice
into
is-
that dark side of metal, which I loved.
And it's got
Justice is
Cliff all
definitely what
over it.
Justice
Exactly.
what I definitely
Oh yeah.
associate closest with Pusshead.
Justice,
Exactly.
yeah.
I'm wrong
No.
one.
No,
I'm
not
wrong one.
Roadhouse.
But
That's ridiculous in another way.
but yeah, this one has Cliff all over it.
Yeah,
know
oh,
it
yeah.
was just that's why I love Orion so much. Like you could just hear, to me, like you're just like he just brought so much to the band, and just going back to the Dave Mustaine of it, like I'm glad he wasn't in the band. Right? Just like like because you're never gonna get these songs with him
No.
like arguing probably over and over again. Like, what are we doing? Why are we doing something slower? Why we do so? What do we need? Like a groove here or that? So it's like, bro, this was a sound that they were developing, and to me, like, there's nothing. You're hearing a Metallica song when I could as soon as I hear it, like it's 100% like can be
Agreed,
pulled
man.
out. Like they were creating a sound, and I love it. And Master Puppets is by far my favorite one. Yeah.
All right, here's a question. Is your favorite one? Awesome. Sorry to cut you off. Here's a question we have to answer, and we don't have to answer it.
Awesome. Fuck you.
Jeremy.
We
I
don't
miss
have
you
to,
guys, bro. We wish we did this
Oh,
in person.
we don't have to answer it now, but it's something you should think about both for the summation of this era and in total, which is if you had one shot to show someone what Metallica is, what is it? What album is it? What track is it? What does it boil down to? Oh, am I supposed to answer that now?
Oh, I thought you were going to
Just
answer
think about
because
it.
I
You
haven't answered.
pause. It seemed dramatic. I don't know. I don't know if I want to reveal that yet because
Hmm.
I think it might come up here in the final quadrant of the segment. We'll see.
Oh, okay. All right. So I mean, then let's. Oh, here's my last thing to say about this one. Kirk, great solos. I mean, I have nothing bad to say. He's just one of those solid fucking like solid guys. But Lars's best drumming.
Oh God, yeah, not even. Oh wait, it's between this and Justice, I would say, but it's one of those two.
Yeah, but again, there are songs when I was listening to them and I was like,
oh, you're saying his drumming sucks on this one?
I was saying, is it his best version? Is his best drumming? Because the thing is, like, I was listening to it and I was like, I think this is where, they said, oh, he took a drum lesson, before recording Master of Puppets.
Finally.
Like, finally. Like, what are you doing? But at the same time, I'm like, there were fills and moments in these songs where I'm like, with another drummer, just a little more, not even that much more. I don't need like Joey Jordison type of like Slipknot drumming.
It's a little more competent. I agree.
A little more, and it would have been a little different.
I think Lars's album has to be Justice, and it plays into the quirks of the recording of that. But I think that's the one where it's just like, no, this actually sounds good.
Yeah, as far as his best album drumming, I would agree.
Yeah.
That's fair, but I think I would agree with Pico. This is up there, I mean, because when you're listening to Disposable Heroes or Damage Inc. or Battery, he's not like half a beat behind, which he is when he plays these live now, by the way, and you totally notice that shit, right?
Yeah.
But on the album, like, and there's no Pro Tools, like, so I know they can still razor cut the shit, but I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt and say like he was actually keeping good time with those fucking songs.
Yeah.
When you're showing up 6 hours late to the recording session, it's the least you can do.
It's the least you could fucking do.
Let's not
right?
forget about the fact that this is literally when the band was known as like what they are behind me is Alcoholica. So these guys were drunk off their ass fucking constantly and putting this kind of material out, which I don't know if it's a benefit or not, but like maybe it is, but like I couldn't play this well sober, let alone like shitface.
Yeah.
And these guys were hammered constantly.
Remember in high school we tried to play Bleed by Soulfly? We couldn't even play
it was terrible. It was so bad.
Measures.
And we were sober.
Mustaine and the Megadeth guys were all heroin addicts. That doesn't exactly go well with speed metal, does it?
No, that's why. I mean, they basically at this point, I would say everyone in the band was probably the level of drunk that Dave was when they kicked him out during Kill 'Em All, right? Because they were like, "Fuck, if we keep this guy around, we're gonna be like Motley Crue. Like everyone's just be fucking shoving needles in their arms."
Christ. Yeah, I don't know how they did it. I really don't understand it. It's really wild that they were even
once
able
again,
to
everything we're discussing today, they did when they were teenagers to less than 30 years old. So it's kind of a different.
At 23, though, man, going to world tour and getting like hammered every night and then playing Master of Puppets the next day, like that's crazy to me.
You waking up like, shit, I gotta go play Disposable Heroes.
Hey,
how did Lars not throw up on the drum set every day?
Don't put yourself down.
I mean, I'm sure he did, but
they couldn't write a press release like you, Bubba. Their curriculum development had nothing on you, Dan.
But all right, so Master of Puppets definitely passes the nostalgia test.
Yeah,
obviously,
goddamn,
it's like one of the greatest metal albums of all time, in my opinion.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah. So here we are at the fourth and final album of the Thrash Era, and Justice for All, released in August 25th, 1988. And so, okay.
Things are changing.
Cliff it's also dead. The longest R.I.P. album of all four of them.
Is that
and
right?
Yes, this is after Cliff Burton dies. So this is the first album that we have new bassist Jason Newsted on it.
Slash old bassist. And
so and there's a lot of controversy here in terms of the mix and the production of this album. It is such a weird sounding album sometimes. Used to it. I think we said that in the text, like we were talking about it in the text. I was like, I know that it's not mixed correctly, but it's the only way I've ever heard it before. And
I don't want to hear it right.
I don't know if I want to hear it right. But
you're right, man. It's 9 tracks and it's over an hour.
This is a commitment. This album's a commitment to listen to. Like this is like, I was listening to it. I was like, holy shit. I was like, I'm only 3 tracks in. I'm like, I can't even. It was just unbelievably long. But I mean,
hey, I listened to it today while vacuuming my carpet. It's amazed I have any left.
I also feel like that was like I think that was their goal with this album. They wanted to show how progressive they could be. Like, in the wake of Cliff's death, I feel like they were like, you still see his influence all over this album, right? You know, I'm sure a lot of this was written before he died, right? I haven't looked at the liner notes, like what he has credits on, right? But
only one track. You want to guess?
To Live Is to Die.
Of course.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Like,
that would be the only one that he has credit on.
And it's
right.
Lyric.
But it's like he contributed to all this, right? So it's like, and I feel like they were like, okay, like people are gonna be like, hey, Cliff's gone. What are these fucking morons gonna do now, right? Like, and they were like, you know what? We're gonna take it to the next fucking level, motherfucker. They were like, we're not slowing down. We're bringing it to that next level. And then they fucked up by their stupid infighting and mixing the bass way down, which created that weird sound.
Way down.
And hates the shit out of Jason, which sucks because Jason has always seemed such a genuinely like good and enthusiastic guy. Like, that was one of the saddest things for me seeing him leave Metallica. Like, not that Robert's not a great player and fits in, but like when you see what this guy went through, and he was like all about the fans, like such a huge dude. And like, because I think he was a fan when he got to join, right? Like he was in Flotsam and Jetsam, like a minor thrash band, and like was probably a huge fan of Metallica. And he probably ate all the fucking shit that they gave him because he was so appreciative of the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
He's credited on one track on this album. Care to guess which one?
I forget which one.
I'm gonna go Eye of the Beholder.
Dan?
Oh, I'm looking at it, so it says Blackened, right?
It's arguably the best one. It's Blackened. The title. The opening track.
Hell yeah!
And
look at the liner notes on my record.
You can't hear anything he's doing on it, so it doesn't
not at all
matter unless you help with some of the lyrics. But this is the thing about Metallica. Every opening track in the Thrash era is just like punch you in the face.
Brutal assault on your ears and brain.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Like these three songs, man, if you put those together, like I'm like, that's a fucking pump up playlist right there. I don't care what I have to do. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, Blackened comes on and it's just like, to me, Blackened, Battery, Fight Fire with Fire, like Hit the Lights. Those four songs are ridiculous to think that those are the opening tracks to your albums. And again, this is the fourth album in not even 10 years that they put out, and it's
5 years.
There's no like, I don't know, like I was trying to think, like for me Master Puppets is a no skip album. There's no song on that album I'm gonna skip. This album, I think I'm also saying this is a no skip album.
Yes, completely agree. It's more of a commitment, but I agree. There's no bad songs.
Not only is it a 4-album progression, but it's their first 4 albums.
Exactly, it's their first 4 albums.
It's not like they had a couple to figure it out and then they like solidified. We were talking about Floyd. That would be the case for them, right? Obviously, Piper is a masterpiece, but then they lost Sid and they figured
we'll
out.
Get to that. I have a whole list including Floyd. But I want to get that at the end, but I agree with you.
Yeah,
but I would say
I would be surprised. I would be surprised on your list if a lot of those were the first 4. We'll say.
No, I don't think any of them are. Actually, no, one other one is. That's gonna be the biggest debate. Blackened to me, another top 3 Metallica song for me. This absolutely. And Battery, like they're just such fucking like boom, mind blowing thrashers that then have like deep movements to them too. And that's, I didn't say it last time, but the biggest problem I have with Battery when they play it live is they cut out the whole bridge section before the solo, which I feel like adds like another level of like building up to it, which bothers the shit out of me,
Why would you do that?
Yeah, because it fucking leads into it, They just do the silence, are you alive? Everyone scream, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, but you need that, duh, like the middle section,
Mm-hmm.
Battery has, like, it's thrashy as fuck, and the middle breakdown part, and, like, it's just, like, also the imagery of, like, the world dying is fucking sick and dark. It's fucking amazing. Like, the lyrical content on this entire album is probably, like, the darkest of all of them. Like, it's fucking, what they were going through some shit, bro.
Sad.
Like,
this album is sad. Like,
justice is rape, justice is done. No, sounds good. Yeah, it's not timely.
The world is dying.
At all.
The world's dying. The justice system is fucking killing you. Like,
We were.
You have no eyes or
it's like
face.
it's like they were watching that movie. Johnny got a gun like over and over and over
Yeah.
again.
And they thought
Which
it was a
I saw
comedy.
that movie in middle school.
In the class.
Bill
Mr.
Basselier's
Basselier.
class.
Yes.
Were you,
That was first-
Pico, I can't remember, were you in the
That
one
was the
with me
first-
where we had to watch the whole movie, or were you in the cool class that got to watch the Metallica video?
No, I think I was watching.
No, we were all in Basselier's class.
Yeah,
that was first,
okay.
First
Yeah.
time I ever met you. And that was
You're
the
right.
first class we ever together.
All right, so we were all in that class. The other class got to
Didn't
watch
like
the
me.
one video.
Still doesn't.
I don't remember who the teacher was, but the other class got to watch the one video.
No, no. We watched the movie, and I was like, "What the fuck? This man's in a box."
And I started thinking about it. I'm like, I'm going to go nuts.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second, why do I know this? And it's like the Metallica video. It's like, oh my
Yep.
god.
Yep.
I was like, oh my
They were
god.
watching us like, you guys, this would be great for our new video that we're going to put on MTV.
Yeah.
And then everyone's called them sellouts for that again.
Which one is one of the hardest songs? Like, I don't care what anyone says. Like you're gonna call them sellouts for making one, quite possibly one of the greatest heavy metal songs.
Yeah, I agree.
I put this song, I put one next to like as high as I put like "Hallowed Be Thy Name" by Iron Maiden,
Yeah.
which
would
I
agree with you.
believe is one of the most perfect heavy metal songs I've ever heard.
I would agree. And also
Yeah.
ones that
Goddamn great
transition things were like, they almost transcended, like those are the songs where transcended metal, but not in a sellout way where it's like, it's a great metal song, but like you ask a random person, they know that. They Hallowed Be Thy Name, maybe not so much. They'll know like Crazy Train. Like, you know, these songs that were like transcended, like it's a great metal song, but like it's also started like transcending beyond. Like everyone knows fucking one. Like, you know,
I mean, calling
at least
them
our age,
sellouts,
young people not so much. No.
calling them sellouts for doing these types of things would be like calling Black Sabbath sellouts in their first album for doing like Planet Caravan or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean,
it's different.
yeah, heavy metal doesn't have to be fast all the time. Yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
Side note, personal note for all of us, for Hallowed Be Thy Name, it was within a 2-month period in 2019 when I went to LA and saw Maiden for the first time with you and Tommy, and then in November for Bubba's birthday went and saw
Slayer.
went to Raleigh for one day and went to the Slayer farewell tour.
Now they're back.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that was a stretch. It was fun,
dude. When I saw Slayer at Roseland Ballroom, I was I was scared. Like I was scared.
How can you hear?
I was so scared out of my mind. That was the weirdest show I've ever seen.
Jesus.
That's a band.
I think I may go. I may drive to Charlotte by myself next month to see Maiden play because they're playing. They're doing Days of Future Past tour and they're playing Alexander the Great live. So I think I may go drive there to see that.
Let me know when that is.
The problem is, Duck. It's like a Tuesday in Charlotte. I'm like, ugh.
Tuesday.
So I may take Wednesday off and just drive there after work.
Who plays a tour
after work?
Plays a show on a Tuesday? Like what is going on?
Metallica's playing Wednesday around here, which is why I told Bobo I'd rather go to Saturday in Charlotte than try to go to Maryland on Wednesday.
Exactly.
It'll take me as long to drive to stadium
with traffic probably
as it will to fly to Charlotte.
Yeah. Well,
now, this album is also interesting. Yes, this album is also. I'm trying to bring us back in. And normally I'm bad about getting us off, so I apologize.
No, it's okay.
You're bad about getting us off.
It sounded terrible, Doug. Good pickup.
Another Hasselhoff hit.
Oh,
hey, there's Manny. Can't escape Manny.
I love it. But I'm looking here too. Like, if you're gonna go, all right. Unpopular question. We said there's no bad songs on here. What is everyone's opinion on the weakest song on this? If you had to pick the song that you would like listen to the least. I mean, I know this is a tough one, but
it might be Dyer's Eve just because it's so fast and it just seems like such a tossed off compared to the rest of it. It's great, but it's just like a coda to the rest of the album. Otherwise, I don't know.
I respect your opinion, but disagree. That's fair.
I know you disagree. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to be like. Shortest Straw or Harvester of Sorrow. I mean, there's no good answers here.
This is the problem, right? Like, there is no good answers. What about you, Pico? You got to pick one.
I don't know because here's the thing. As I was listening to it, some of these songs started to like meld together a bit.
Yeah, I would agree.
My instinct, because I don't remember it, when listening to it would be to say the frayed ends of sanity because I don't remember.
That's so good.
It is a good song.
And I'm not, and the thing is, like, I probably
It's hard to pick
remember
one.
it when I hear it again, right? Because it's like I'm bad with like song names sometimes. But again, here's the thing with Justice, and I love this album. This is an album that like was for me. I think this is the first time I listened to it in a single sitting, and that.
Oh, okay.
Because it was again, it's an album that like
it is long. I agree.
It's hard, you gotta like. I don't commute like that anymore either, where I can listen to this whole album together. And
that's
so
fair.
I'm trying to figure out, like, I mean, I'm probably wrong by saying that song, but I love, well, maybe it's a shorter straw. I don't even know because I love Harvester of Sorrow. Like, I like
it's
that
hard,
song.
dude. Like to me, it's I Am Beholder, which I still love that song. But if I had to pick one that's my least go to here, like. That's it, like and it's also I think because look what it's between. It's between Justice and One. Like it's just kind of like it's a little bit lower, but like still love it.
It's just it's so arbitrary because Harvester of Sorrow is like, well, it's slower. It's like the only kind of slow track on the album, but like maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But
this is why I asked this question because I don't think there is a right answer.
Listen to Frayed Ends of Sanity tomorrow, Dan.
I don't think there's any bad song on this album. I think this is the thing. People will sometimes compare this album to Puppets and shit on it as his Puppets is like worlds above it. I think it's right there in my opinion as far as like an amazing album because I asked that question to provoke because I don't think there is a bad song on this album. Like, and I think I think this and Master are literally right there and there, and I feel like this one gets shit on because of the production, which is fair. But from a song perspective, it's fucking right there, bro. And some of them like even go higher. Like, I don't know.
That's to me the saddest part is that because I'm used to it sounding like this, like whatever. But the first time I heard this album, I thought there was something totally wrong with it. I was just like, on my earphone, like when I was listening, I'm like, something's fucked up.
They turn the bass down.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on? And like, just doesn't sound right because after you hear like Master of Puppets, you're just like. It sounds great. Then
it's
you put
crunchier. This one, like it's weird. It's like tinny.
Yeah, and then Black because when Blackened starts, it's like right, and then you're just like, this sounds like a weird snare from like the marching band, like a really tight snare. Like
wait till you hear Saint Anger.
I had listened to the first track off that like the other day, and I couldn't get through it because those songs are also long.
With no solos.
Like this
it's
album
like the
has
same riff for 8 minutes.
This album has multiple solos, and each song has like multiple many riffs. Like layers. It's just fucking phenomenal to listen to. It's a commitment, but dear God, like this is one of those things where it's like when we've been bringing Pink Floyd in every now and then to be like, after Puppets, you don't expect it to go here. Like it's such an interesting turn to be like with Floyd, Dark Side, Animals. Like how did they have that in them? Like to me, it's just like you have this, and then you have Master Puppets, and you have this. To me, it would be like it makes a more sense for them to jump from Puppets to the Black Album, only in terms of like the way it sounds, sort of, right? Like it just, I would see Justice being after Ride the Lightning in a way.
But I think we talked about this when we talked about Black. Is when you listen to them in close proximity, you kind of get that there's some of the, let's call them lesser, just less celebrated songs on Black Album. Not your Sad But True, your Sandman, or your or the the epics, and then you hear it's like, oh no, this actually has continuity from Justice, like Struggle Within, stuff like that.
Okay.
I also feel like they push. I feel like here, like to me, this is Metallica outside the mixing at the apex of their abilities, where they were like, let's see how hard we can push this. We're gonna do 7 fucking time changes in a song. We're gonna fucking go super fast. We're gonna slow it down. We're gonna mix in like it was like crazy. And I think because they even watch if you.
When you put it that way, then you just say, "Oh, imagine if they had actually made it sound good."
Right, and I think that all the time. debatable opinion here. I think if this has been mixed rightly, I may rank it higher than Master of Puppets if it was mixed correctly.
I don't doubt
what's
that.
stopping them? The IKEA can just put out the What If Justice album. What if Justice had been done?
But it's not in your mind now, right? Like it's in there the way it is, right? So, but I also think this is also
that goes in the very problem of the premise of the nostalgia test, right? Because what's already ingrained in our brain.
I mean, the album in general, like it's. Yeah. I get what you're saying. You do.
I know.
Do hit, yeah. And I will say, like, if you watch like the Year and a Half Life of Metallica, they say like they made a deliberate effort to simplify things with Black because they're like we got so fucking complex here that like I think they were like, all right, like this is a big debate. Were they doing to go more commercial, or were they just like, hey, like we push this shit to the edge of how crazy it can get, and let's pull it back in because we want to try something different. No, I don't know.
I get it. You're right. No, you're right. But I think it's like I think you're right because they pushed it as far as I'm gonna keep saying this. They pushed it as far as Lars's ability to drum because
100%.
I
put Neil Peart on this album.
You put Chad. What's the drummer from the Red Hot Chili Peppers? Chad Smith. Yeah, put Chad Smith on that. Will Ferrell. Put him on that album. And I'm telling you, they could push it even further. I mean, because you have Injustice, right? When does Meshuggah put their first album out? Because, like, I'm saying, like, they take
92, 93, I guess.
So they're taking the genre and going, well, we have someone who could drum really well, and they can keep up with the time changes that we want to do. And so they keep pushing it.
Yeah, it's a good point. He was the lagging one.
Anymore.
I mean, we know James, like everyone always says he's like, he's one of the best rhythm guitar players ever. Like he's 63 and still fucking playing like, Disposable Heroes live. Like we know he can jam. Insane. Yeah. Like Kirk can thrash, like Jason can play. You're right. Lars was the limiting ability. And when you're like doing, I'm pretty sure I could play most of the songs on the Black Album. Like, and I haven't played drums in 20 years.
Dude, like, right?
Well, to make another comparison, Radiohead, when they put out the Kid A and the Amnesiac albums, and then basically they had to learn how to play them to actually take them out on the road. It's basically like they were covering it themselves. That's essentially where Metallica found themselves.
This one's way over my head.
You know.
I don't like it, but I get it. I don't like it, but I get it.
It's not over your head. It's under your influence.
I don't think Liam Gallagher likes it either. So
I don't think Liam Gallagher likes anything that isn't Liam Gallagher.
They're touring now again, though. For now,
he likes Harry Styles. Oh, and he probably
he likes Harry Styles, but he says he lives clean. He lives clean. So like he
likes Harry Styles. He likes John Lennon. He likes maybe like half of us Stone Roses track
and Oasis.
And
not his fucking brother.
Yeah,
well, enough to make a bunch of millions of dollars for them.
Oh, there goes Billy again.
Oh, hey, he's back.
There he is. So so favorite tracks off Injustice. Like we were talking about the weakest tracks, and I got that totally wrong. So
we all did. That was the point.
Tracks. Yeah. What are your favorite tracks off this album, or if there's like a favorite track that you're just like this one?
First two, my favorite 1-2 punch of tracks on any Metallica album or possibly any albums. Blackened.
That's fair.
For all.
Yeah.
I would go Blackened and To Live Is To Die.
But we'll love the instrumental on that one.
That's just being played at my funeral, bro.
Well, it's thematically appropriate.
That 10-minute song is getting played. I'm gonna have Adam Hart Mother played.
To it.
23-minute song.
It's gonna be on. No, it's gonna be on. It's gonna be on loop the whole time, so everyone gets to listen.
There's gonna be like three of us standing there, just like old as fuck, being like, "That's what he wanted." I don't know.
He told us on the podcast. It's made it
On
official.
the podcast. There's
it's legally binding.
Here's the clip. But yeah, I love. I mean, I'm gonna agree with everyone here, and just Blackened is one of the greatest opening songs of any album, and after that, I guess I'm gonna be just so cliche and just say One. I love One.
That's fair, dude. It's a great song.
It's so good. it's fun to listen to, and I feel like it has a killer solo, and I just love the
Yeah,
changes. I
agreed.
love all those changes. I mean,
This is Kirk's apex. I think this is the best he did.
Yeah.
As far as technique meeting how they fit. We talked last time the Black Album how they're a great fit, but this is like crazy technique meets fit.
Yeah, I mean, they also had a lot of issues in terms of production because they started with one person, then they went back to Rasmussen, and then they turned Jason Newsted's bass down. I mean, I want to just say, like, I want to give Jason so much credit for coming into a band that was like 3 albums, 3 of the most powerful heavy metal albums ever.
Yeah.
Cliff, like, making everything possible, like, in terms of the music, in terms of Ride the Lightning and Master Puppets, and this, basically, the influence, like, you could hear him all over it, in terms of just the style and the lyrics and the ideas and the progressiveness. But Jason was able to come in there and just, like, hold his own, do what he had to do. He still had to tour the other albums, like, when they toured, so it's not like he was up there. Jason Newsted is not some bullshit, he's like stand-in. He's fucking great. And then he went on to play with, didn't he play with Voivod for a little bit? And
he played with Voivod, he played with Ozzy.
He swapped with Robert.
Him and Robert swapped. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's now been out of Metallica far longer than he was ever in it.
Yep.
That's crazy. That's out of hand. But
I agree with you, man. He deserves many credit here, even though you can't hear him, because also you watch any of those tours from this era, like, just the energy he brings live, like, he's all fucking into it,
Unbelievable.
So he's like embodying the song Whiplash.
Yeah. I loved his haircut then. He had like the long hair, but the shave up, like the undercut.
He had like the Viking haircut before it was popular.
Yeah.
Or long after.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Oh, God. Any other words on Injustice?
It's good. You should listen to it a lot.
Yeah.
Definitely. You should listen.
Fucking
to
rocks.
It.
Definitely pass the nostalgia test. Not even. I have no
100%.
doubt.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, okay, at peak volume. Be careful because
at
it's
a safe volume.
At a safe volume. So we've been talking a lot about other things like comparisons in terms of 4 albums, 3 albums, and things like that of other bands. And Billy, you've been keep in your back pocket there some Pink Floyd sort of comparisons. So I would love to hear back, because Pink Floyd was a band that I was thinking of for some odd reason this whole time.
Here's the one. So I looked at it. I was like, all right, there's a lot of subjective. You could say these 4 are the best. But I was like, all right, let me look at the 4 album runs for a band that had an influence on music, like not just greatest, but like the influence of it, right? So all right, we got the ones we talked about here. I think we got Floyd, obviously, from Dark Side to Animals, like great albums, and also how they just kind of influenced everyone, right?
It's Dark Side through Wall. It's the 4 albums. It's Dark Side.
Oh, I'm sorry, my
Animals.
I fucked up the order. Sorry, Wall was after Animals. My bad. I don't like the Wall, so maybe I deliberately left it out. That's a conversation for another time.
That's a correct opinion, by the way.
I have not listened to The Wall, and I can't even tell you how long.
Yeah, it's the gateway drug that you fucking leave behind completely.
Exactly.
With some great tracks on it. Comfortably Numb.
Here we go. Oh, Comfortably Numb, great song. Especially the new one.
Body count.
The next one, I don't. Oh fuck yeah! I don't love this band, but you got to leave it in. Got to put it in here. The Beatles, Rubber Soul, Revolver, Sgt. Pepper's, and the Beatles. The influence on music, what it did. Like I said, don't love the Beatles, but you got to respect it. Next one, I'd say Sabbath with their first 4 with Black Sabbath, Paranoid, Master of Reality, and Volume 4. That essentially invented heavy metal, right? And laid the blueprint. Then I think you got Zeppelin. 1 through 4, right? So that's another one. I said that's the other one with their first 4, right? Because you even look at a lot of these bands. There's a debate: was Zeppelin a metal band? No, I think Zeppelin was not. Sabbath was the first metal band, but a lot of these bands in the late 70s and early 80s, I feel like took both of those and brought it together. And then the last one I would say, just because I feel like it's been these albums have been super influential on music in general, and kind of this band alone change, is Queen with Sheer Heart Attack, Night at the Opera, Day at the Races, and News of the World. Everyone fucking knows Queen and how influential those were. So those are the ones that I was trying to look at from an influential perspective. Interested to get your guys' thoughts because I have mine.
So you only care about British bands. Interesting.
I was trying to look. I read a lot of different lists, and it was more like just the influence of it, you know. And yes, British bands are good. What are you gonna do?
I mean, it's crazy because I was trying to also think. I was like, I wonder how many albums, like studio albums, Jimi Hendrix put out, and I think it's only
good point.
3 studio albums, and then there's a bunch of live albums and things like that. But the 3 albums he did put out are like Are You Experienced, Axis Bold as Love, and then Electric Lady, Electric Ladyland, which are 3 albums that are just ridiculous.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's up there too.
Yeah, and in terms of like the 4 album runs that you were talking about, it's really unbelievable for me to think like a lot of the things that you were saying to those bands, Floyd, the Beatles and stuff, those were already into the career that they already established, where like Metallica is like their first 4 albums are like it's mind-boggling to me, because even like Guns N' Roses weren't able to keep it together.
No, they fucking flamed out in like 5 years, right? Like
it's just like it doesn't like, it's unbelievable how they weren't able to keep that kind of together after Appetite for Destruction, even though you have Use Your Illusion or whatever. But like still, I'm not going back to that. I mean, how many times do I really need to even listen to November Rain? You know, I mean,
exactly. I agree completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. It's those songs where I haven't heard it in a long time. I'm like, oh, I'll listen. Like, I still have Sirius, and like Civil War came on the other day. I'm like, oh, I haven't heard this shit in like a year. I'll fucking jam out to this, but I'm not going back to it multiple times. Yeah, I agree completely.
No, not at all. I mean, I think that Metallica has had probably one of the greatest 4 album runs ever in terms of beginning of career, and then you could throw on the Black Album just because, even though it's not going to be like everyone's favorite album, you can't deny that you have a band that put 5 albums out and not one of those albums was bad.
Yeah.
Not a single one. And that to me is, there aren't many bands that put 5 albums out in a row that there's not an album in there where it's like, meh, that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I thought you said something interesting. Sorry, Duck. This is in my head, so I was going to spit it out. I don't want to cut you off. Like you said, to the point where like listenability, like how many times am I going back to these? Because I'm thinking about these other ones. Like you can make the argument like Sabbath inventing metal, like Zeppelin's first 4. Those are all great runs, you know? But how often do I go back and listen to like all of those albums? And like you said earlier, the only one here that you probably haven't regularly is Kill 'Em All, right? Like everything else, like I go back to these fucking albums all the fucking time. You know, all those other ones I listed, like, well, all in my opinion, outside of the Beatles, I don't fucking like the Beatles. I listen to all those other ones like all the time. You know, like, not all the time. I listen to them every now and then. You know, but like Metallica, all the fucking time. So
I think those are good comparisons. I think the point stands that none of those are right off the bat from the get-go. And if you want to move it to 4 albums, then go Lightning through Black Album, and it still stands up. I think the only one, maybe got to throw this in there for the internet haters, because it's possible that some people who don't know us might ever listen to this. I doubt it, but it's possible. So you have to mention the Rolling Stones, another band that I don't really care about that much. But anything between Aftermath and Exile, kind of
that was on the list too. I would agree.
Pretty good run.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, even now I'm still trying to think like, are there other bands, even new bands and stuff that have like, I mean, even Pantera.
They don't make albums anymore.
Yeah, no, and Pantera wasn't able to keep it together either, because
Great Southern Tranquil.
Yeah, the Great Southern Tranquil is like, okay, they're really good songs.
Reinventing Steel, same. So it was what? Cowboys, Vulgar Display.
Vulgar. I always mix those 2 up. What comes second, and then Far Beyond Driven, which originally had a drill bit going to an ass, by the way, instead of a skull.
These bands and these like things like
this fucking thing, like can you see it?
Sort of. Yeah, there you go. Like, why would you want that to be your album
coming
cover?
up the toilet?
Like, it's because it's a fucking 18-year-old thinks it's a funny idea. They're like,
exactly.
Put metal up your ass and put a fucking knife in a toilet. And the record company's like, you fucking morons. Like, no, we can't do this. And they're like, kill them all.
Yeah, it's like much better. Let's put that on the album. Like, I just feel like this is where I'm not for the corporate aspect of like a record company, but there are times where like the record company steps in. It's like, we're not doing that. Like, you need
an adult in the room.
Yeah, you need an adult in the room. Is someone going to sign off on this? You're 18. Like, okay, like that I'm so glad someone did that because it would have probably ruined their career. I mean, as good as the music was,
there's a toilet with a fucking knife in it.
That's what they wanted to call it, knife toilet.
Well, that was like Guns N' Roses for Appetite Destruction had like a famous painting of a robot like raping someone, and they were like,
they put on the
no,
inside cover. Like,
no.
Let's move that inside.
like what is wrong with this? Sometimes bands like, they need someone in the room that's just
called
like
artistic integrity. No, it's called being an idiot. Stop it.
Yeah, it's called being a fucking
Doesn't
idiot.
Def Leppard have like actually like pedophilia on one of their albums where there's like a nude 15-year-old? I think it's Def Leppard. Yeah, I think it's Def Leppard.
There's a time period that we have to like. If there was a whole like
that time period
series of episodes talk about like the issues in terms of rock, like and like in these issues, like some of these songs. Someone I was like arguing with on Instagram was like talking about some song that I forget, Motley Crue or something was said, where like they were talking about like the song was talking about being in love or like attracted to or infatuated with like a girl that was underage. And I'm like, why are we protecting this? This is bullshit. Like, stop listening to this song. And then they were like, they're just talking about it on a song. I'm like, that's the hill you want to die on? Like, okay, go ahead.
Like, that's like Aerosmith had that too, right?
U16 girls?
Yeah.
Travis, U16 girls, under 16.
Yeah. I don't know.
But it's about, hey, stay away from them.
Stay away from them. And don't let them get you. Like, what is going on with people? That's why, you know what? And here's the thing. Going back to Kill 'Em All. That's why I'm so glad that they changed the lyrics to a lot of these songs. Like, and James was like, we're not fucking doing that. Like, we're not fucking doing that.
This isn't dumb shit. We're not mechanics.
Yeah, and every one of these songs, like from Kill 'Em All to Injustice, actually had some sort of integrity that was written into the lyrics, and it was interesting. And this is why I love Metallica, and this is why also, just to bring up Iron Maiden, this is why it's fun to listen to Iron Maiden, because their songs are so epic in terms of the lyrics. Yeah.
Agreed, man.
So
I'm
we are
looking
coming
up
to
this album cover that I was thinking it was going to bother me otherwise.
Oh my
God. The one with it was the Scorpions. I'm sorry.
Oh.
It wasn't yeah.
Right.
This has the original Pantera one that I'll send to you too.
So we're gonna just real quickly, we put every album to the test. Real quick, obviously I'm just gonna maybe I'll just speak for everyone. This is the era of Metallica that definitely passes the nostalgia test. This is the era that's still good, 100%. There's nothing bad about this era of Metallica. And it's not even that being nostalgic or failing the nostalgia test means it's bad. It's just that it's not something I'm reaching out to. It's just like, it gives me that really, warm feeling of like some memory, some shared experience back in the day. And that's all I'm going to get from it. But this is actually really good music still. So if you had to rank these 4 albums from best to worst, much like we did with the Rocky films, how would you rank them? It's like a near impossible.
Doug, you can go first.
I struggle with this, and
struggle within.
It was a struggle.
I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. I see the comment on this, Billy. I'm so glad they didn't fucking use that as a cover. What is wrong with Yeah, you're right. You need an adult in a room.
They read you like at the record company. I'm like, no. Get the fuck out of here, dude. This is a drill bit going into an asshole.
Like, someone should have been in the room when they were making Human Centipede and be like, we're not doing this. Like, we're not doing this. Oh, my God.
Sorry.
All right. Well, I struggled with this, much like a drill bit in the ass, and I realized I should just go with my my first instinct, the way that I historically think that they were in my esteem in years past, and I think I have to go with Justice, Lightning, Puppets, Kill 'Em All.
Wow.
Top to bottom.
Justice, Lightning, Puppets.
Puppets, Kill 'Em All. I know.
Wow.
I know. Controversial.
I don't even know what to say about that.
That's just the way it is.
I feel betrayed. But I get it. Because it's like there's no bad ranking, but there's also... It's interesting to hear the ranking. Justice, Lightning, Puppets, Kill 'Em All. Wow.
Yeah, I know. Huh. It's not like a huge spread, but that's, in my heart, that's where they are.
Billy?
This is tough. Because I'm going to go bottoms up because I have trouble with my 1 and 2. So 4, Kill 'Em All.
Agreed.
3, Lightning.
Figured.
I really struggle with Puppets and Justice, and I honestly if you put a gun to my head, I would have trouble picking. So, but this podcast is essentially the gun to my head, so I'm gonna pick one, and I'm gonna go
1A, 1B.
Fuck, this is really on the fly here, boys. I'm gonna go Puppets 2, Justice 1. So I'm gonna agree with the overall for Jeremy.
Just flipping the middle too.
I know, Dan. I know you're.
I
know you're number one. I know. I mean, and to me, it's literally 1A and 1B. I don't want to pick. If this is I have to, right?
So you did Justice, Puppets, Lightning, Kill 'Em All.
Yeah, which you had to.
Oh shit! I went chronologically backward.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got it the other way. I'm like, okay, I got it. Okay. All right. I'm going Puppets first for me. Now, this is where, for me, is the hardest. Lightning and Justice. The spots for those two albums. Okay, because of the thing that I said early in the episode, and people are still here, share this episode with your favorite friend who loves Metallica. Listen to your friends who love Metallica together. Debate these rankings with us. Tell us what you think, and like and share the podcast an hour and a half in. So I'm going, because I think that on Lightning there's a skip song, I'm going Puppets, Justice, Lightning, Kill 'Em All. And this is hard because I feel bad with
so
Kill 'Em
hard.
All because I like that album a lot.
It's not a bad album.
It's not a bad album, but if I'm ranking all 4, and I know there's going to be people out there going like, how dare you put Kill 'Em All at the bottom? It's the best Metallica album, blah, blah. And it's just like, it's a great Metallica album. Is it better than Justice or Puppets? I'm not, there's no way. I'm sorry, there isn't. So I'm going Puppets, Justice, Lightning, Kill 'Em All.
If you like that raw fucking sound, yes, I get it. Kill 'Em All is number 1 for you.
Yeah.
It's all subjective. Any one of these could have been number 1 depending on how I'm fucking feeling in the day of the week, right? It's it's not like for me, it's not like Justice and then Kill 'Em All's down here. They're all within fucking right there. So
yeah,
it's tough. I think we all struggle with those choices. Although Jeremy, you were very set and knew right off the bat.
No, it was because I struggled with that I just went with the way that I probably historically had felt.
That's fair.
But I agree. You can make the argument anyway. We all put Kill 'Em All at the bottom, and I don't think it's because any of us think that there's anything wrong with it. It's just
no.
Yeah. I mean, Jeremy, would you say the struggle within it suits you fine? The struggle within you're losing?
I don't know if I would say that, but sure, Bubbo.
Sorry,
oh my God. I love this. I feel trapped under ice right now.
Right?
I'm freezing. I can't move at all.
But everyone,
I'm trying to live.
This has been an amazing conversation. We want to hear your ideas on the thrash era of Metallica. Rank the albums, which ones pass or don't pass. Are there no skip albums? I'm still saying Ride the Lightning, there's a skip in it. And I think every other album is just a no skip album for me. And all that passes the nostalgia test. Guys, any predictions? Because our next era is, as I'm looking at the list, if I have it right, is the arena / hard rock /
Classic.
new metal era. That's kind of what we called it. I don't know what it is. But in there, we have the Black Album, Load, and Reload. That's what it looks like right now. I'm not sure if we added anything to it.
I think that's
S&M
good,
or Garage.
No, but didn't we say we were going to throw a catch-all with all that stuff? I mean, I'm
like
fine
a novelty. So because we have Saint Anger, we're going to do that probably on its own, we said, because that is going to be difficult to pair with people.
Guys,
so do we want to throw in?
We're just looking at decades, right? Because we just did the 80s, and basically the next one is the 90s.
You're right. It's essentially is, yeah.
So,
but then once you get into 2000s, no, because Saint Anger and Death Magnetic were same decade.
Right. So Death Magnetic,
the next era is the 90s.
Right. The next era is the 90s. But the thing is, I feel like Death Magnetic, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, and 72 Seasons, like that legacy era that we kind of call. I feel like they all go together. But I do think Saint Anger has to be a conversation by itself.
Own episode.
Like a Rocky
And with the
V.
fucking movie in there too. The movie,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I don't know if you guys have watched it, but if you haven't, you're gonna need to watch it.
Some
We
kind
might
of
have to do
monster?
that. Yeah, I
Bill,
never saw it.
I saw it with you.
theater
I
and
knew you
watched
did.
it.
I
I
know.
refused
And Pico,
to
sorry.
watch that. I refused
Watch it.
to watch it when it was happening.
I will say it is interesting.
Yeah.
It's an
That was a
interesting
very
study.
difficult time for Bill. He
So-
You know what?
he
We
had
have to
feelings.
do the
Difficult time
novelty
for
one,
all.
by the way.
Yeah, I think a
Because of
novelty
the
out
Lulu.
make us
Lulu,
all watch
Lulu in that.
Lulu.
S&M and Garage Inc. Is that all going to be one?
Yeah, I
Well,
think
that's
so.
going to be a
Because
wildly varied.
the main
I think
one
from
is
now on-
because
yeah.
all of us need to listen to Lulu, like, because
Yeah.
I don't think any of us have, and like
No,
we need to experience that misery so we can all
Yeah.
commiserate with it.
I
you know?
mean,
and maybe
listened
we'll have a
to
guest
bits and
on
pieces
some
of
of
it.
these afterwards.
Yeah. Find
Oh,
someone
the
that likes
Ghost of Lou
Lulu. That would be
Reed.
funny.
Lulu is a widely degraded album by Metallica and Lou Reed, but I think there's a lot of good material here. If you didn't hear Lou Reed's Metal Machine music, you wouldn't have a starting point. For
Fuck
this, but I
that
think
album. Oh my god. Okay, there we go, Bill. Yeah, what is wrong?
That
with
is literally the censored version. Like that's like a 14-year-old girl on the cover of a Scorpions album that they thought was a good idea to put on there.
fucking assholes?
And then someone in the record label was like, "Yeah, no."
No, yeah.
And now she picture the band.
All right,
Yeah,
everyone.
good point.
Here we go.
Yeah, we'll cut all that crap out. Sorry.
So everyone, thank you so much for listening. Era's version, Metallica, first era, Thrash Era done. And looking forward to the next one. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I haven't listened to Load or Reload in a long time. So
I have.
everyone,
It's going to be interesting. All right.
like, subscribe, and share the podcast. And share it with a Metallica fan out there. Let them hear what we had to say.
And share
Billy,
with Metallica.
Yeah, and share with Metallica. Hey, Metallica, if you want to
Bring
be
'em
on Metallica,
Yeah. Tell
Bring
us
it
I'm
on.
open.
Let's go, guys.
yeah,
Let's hear-
come on on. Come
We'll
on.
chat.
Jason,
See you in the
Newstead,
90s.
do you want to be on? Jason?
Let's
but
go,
anyone,
Jason. We fucking love you.
Billy, Jeremy, thank you so much for being here for this podcast episode.
Always
and
a pleasure.
looking forward to the next one. We're on a long journey here.
Yes.
Let's do it, boys. Let's
After
do it.
Metallica, we'll do Iron Maiden. No,
Yes. I'm down.
I need a grant
Legacy
for
of the
that one.
Beast Legacy.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. See you at the next test. Peace.
Peace, everyone.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please subscribe to the Nostalgia Test podcast to know when new episodes drop. Don't forget to leave us 5 stars and a positive review so more people can find the podcast. Share your thoughts and memories on today's topic on our Twitter @NostalgiaTest and on Instagram @The Nostalgia Test. Tune in next time because you never know what pop culture will pop up on The Nostalgia Test.